Chapter 165. Art is an explosion. Look, what a beautiful firework. It's a pity that we're flying too high. We can't hear their cries. Even if you can't hear them, don't lower your altitude. Don't forget how we lost the last war. I know. It's rare to have Yunin as a sucker. I haven't had enough fun yet. 600 meters in the air, a group of ninjas were happily chatting and laughing. But at this moment, one of the ninjas looked down in confusion. It looks like someone is flying towards us. Is it one of our companions? That's the forehead protector. No, it's Woodleaf's ninja. How dare he fly in the sky? Don't he know whose domain the sky is? Kill him. After noticing the movements of the ninjas, Garashi immediately formed a hand seal. Illusion confusion. Because of its formless nature, the range of illusion is always the highest among the same level of techniques. Almost instantly, all of the ninjas in the sky were hit by the illusion. Garashi, is it really okay to use illusion? What if someone breaks free from the illusion? Summer Star's worry was not unfounded. Illusion is very useful in a one-on-one fight, but if it's a group attack, as long as one person breaks free, it's possible for everyone else to break free. Don't worry. My illusion is not something a group of ninjas can break. Garashi was very calm. Even the 7 legendary swordsmen and the A and B brothers were afraid of his illusion. It's impossible for these ninjas to break free. In order to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor, he didn't straddle Summer Star. Instead, he knelt on his back. That's good. Summer Star whispered, then wondered. Aren't we going to kill them? Of course not. I'm still waiting for them to return the favor to Yunin. Garashi snapped his fingers. Then, the group of ninjas turned around and flew towards Yunin's camp. Illusion can reach this level? Summer Star was shocked. Generally, illusion is used to disturb or attack the enemy. But Garashi's illusion is used to forcibly control the enemy. It even allowed the ninjas to retain their consciousness to control the aircraft. This meant that the difference between the mental strength of both parties was ridiculously large. From this point of view, Garashi is already the most powerful Genjutsu ninja she has ever seen. It's only because their resistance to illusions is too weak that I can control them so easily, Garashi explained with a smile. That's still very powerful. Xia Rixing praised from the bottom of his heart. Even if the enemy's strength was weak, their numbers were still there. To be able to control so many enemies at once, he could definitely be called an illusion master. Garashi smiled and said, let's continue. If you want to give Yunin a gift in return, this little bit of patience is not enough. Xia Rixing also collected his thoughts and said excitedly, understood. At Yunin's position, can't these bastards throw more accurately? AI held up the binoculars and cursed with gritted teeth. Those space ninjas weren't throwing bombs, but Yunin's blood, sweat, and money. After this battle, I'll have to rob Koff, collect some protection fees. AI Zheng sighed as he heard the ninjas around him whispering. Why did this group of space ninjas return so quickly to resupply? Damn it, they must have deliberately intercepted some of the bombs. What, they even dare to take our Yunin's rebates? Are these space ninjas tired of living? Let me take a look, who is it? AI held up the binoculars and was about to write down a name in his notebook, but suddenly his pupil shrank violently. What do these bastards want to do? Damn it, everyone pay attention to scatter and hide. Unfortunately, his reminder was still a little too late. Before anyone could react, bombs exploded on their campsite. Why are there bombs? Damn it, those space ninjas betrayed us. The group of Yunin ninjas was completely unprepared. After a round of attacks, broken limbs and pieces of flesh were everywhere. The smell of burnt flesh mixed with the smell of blood filled the air. Seeing this tragic scene, it was so angry that he almost went crazy. These space ninjas actually used Yunin's money to bomb them. Use your Baijidamas to get rid of these bastards. Understood. The next moment, the huge body of the Hachibi appeared and waved its tentacles to slap the space ninjas. At the same time, Baijidama was shot into the sky, the bombs ignited on the ground, and the Baijidama set off an energy storm in the sky. For a moment, the whole battlefield was in chaos. In the distance, looking at the chaos in Yunin's camp, Xia Rixing was very happy and asked eagerly, Garashi, do you still want to continue? Garashi shook his head slightly. The other space ninjas have already noticed our movements. It won't be so easy to quietly approach them. Is that so? Xia Rixing was a little depressed. She still wanted to continue to retaliate against Yunin. Garashi continued to analyze. Seeing that they are in a hurry to return, they probably know that they have offended Yunin, so they want to go home and hide again. Xia Rixing was relieved. In other words, the crisis is over? Although they won easily today, it was based on the fact that the enemy didn't know enough about the range of Garashi's Genjutsu. If they didn't give them a chance to approach from the beginning, then today's outcome would be very difficult to predict. In a short time, they shouldn't dare to come out again, Garashi said. However, letting such a dangerous enemy lurk in the dark is a hidden danger. Garashi, what are you going to do? Xia Rixing asked. I'm going to sneak into their team and follow them to find their nest. Garashi's tone was calm, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. That's too dangerous. Halfway through his words, Xia Rixing started to laugh. Those space ninjas are only good at aerial combat, but with their strength, it's impossible to pose much of a threat to Garashi. To be precise, the dangerous ones should be the enemy. After calming down, Xia Rixing asked again. But how can you sneak in? That's simple. I'll have to trouble you to find a hidden place to land. After landing in a valley, it didn't take long for another space ninja to land. Then, he dismantled the equipment in front of Xia Rixing's surprised eyes. Garashi, are you going to pretend to be a space ninja? After being surprised, Xia Rixing asked with some worry. But isn't this too risky? After all, it's your first time coming into contact with this aircraft. It's nothing more than the control of the wind attribute chakra and the coordination of the body. I still have some confidence in these two aspects. Garashi took out a kunai and twirled it. Even if it's not enough, I still have this. Thinking of Garashi's flying thunder god technique, Xia Rixing was relieved. Unfortunately, I don't know much about wind release, so I can't move forward with you. Thank you very much, leave the rest to me. Garashi stepped on the rock wall and walked to the top of the valley. Then he jumped and directly glided out. Looking at Garashi's back, Xia Rixing whispered. A hero who can create miracles is someone like you. If it's you, you can definitely save Star Village. Chapter 166. On the way back, a group of shinobis were cursing. Are Jebbies and the others crazy? They even offended their customers. That's right. Where can we find such a fool in the future? Offending with Leaf and Yunin at the same time. It's estimated that only Rock Crypsis will dare to hire us in the future. It's hard to say. That group of idiots ruined our reputation. Just as they were complaining in dissatisfaction, a lone ninja flew towards them in an aircraft. Wait a minute, let's talk about the code first. A shinobi shouted vigilantly. The shinobi shouted fanatically. Sweep the 5 countries. Hearing the other side accurately say the code, the shinobi who spoke subconsciously responded. Dominate the ninja world. Although he already got the answer from other shinobi, Garashi was still speechless when he said it. Should he say that these people are ignorant or fearless? However, the rest of them were very happy. Haha, sure enough, it's a brother. It's also our fault for being too cautious. How can a ninja from the outside world be so skilled in flying? Garashi didn't use Genjutsu to directly control the other party, because the essence of Genjutsu is deceit. Sometimes, language is even more reliable than Genjutsu. After all, Genjutsu can be removed, but language can't. It's more difficult to make people believe that they have been deceived than to deceive them. Especially for these shinobi who have lived in the underground ruins for a long time. Their social experience is almost zero. After a heart-to-heart talk, everyone quickly became familiar with each other. Under the deliberate guidance of Garashi, almost everyone confided in him. And many people even took the initiative to help Garashi become the next leader of the shinobi. That's why I said, there is no need to use Genjutsu at all. Garashi was indifferent in his heart. Deceiving this group of naive and cute shinobi is as difficult as deceiving Asma when he first entered the ninja school. Well, their EQ is only at the level of a 5-year-old child, no more. It didn't take long for the information they knew to be leaked. Even the color of their underwear was revealed. In this information, Garashi discovered a piece of information that he had previously overlooked. The war preparations started 2 years ago. Is it because of the Chunin exam? If this is the case, Garashi wouldn't be surprised. After all, the situation at that time was complicated, and Wood Leaf's energy could only be focused on the other 4 ninja villages. It's not surprising for the Sky Ninjas to take back the Zero-Tail Resurrection Scroll that was taken away by Wood Leaf after the destruction of the Sky Country. They chatted happily along the way. When they arrived at the ruins, everyone still waved their hands reluctantly. Brother Naruto, you must remember to visit us more often in the future. Naruto responded with a smile, and then followed him into the ruin. Beep. Number 2233. Please enter the password. This password was provided with the aircraft, so Garashi was naturally prepared. Ding. The verification is correct. Number 2233. Welcome home. In the central control room. Lord Shinong, that's what happened. Some of the traitors suddenly attacked Yunin indiscriminately. Hearing this news, Shinong's first reaction was that it was impossible. He brainwashed his clansmen. Everyone thought that the Sky Ninjas were honored to sacrifice themselves, and it was absolutely impossible for them to betray them. Is it Genjutsu? Being outside all year round, his knowledge was indeed much better than other Sky Ninjas, and he quickly thought of this possibility. However, even if it's Genjutsu, Yunin and those reckless people won't listen to my explanation. Forget it. Shinong shook his head slightly. Let everyone come back. The revenge operation is temporarily cancelled. Thanks to the brainwashing, his subordinates didn't have the slightest doubt and immediately responded. Yes. After his subordinates left, Shinong walked to the control hub behind him and looked at the wriggling meatball in the hub with blurred eyes. What a wonderful power. Unfortunately, this level of darkness can only resurrect you. But at this moment, the meatball suddenly made a sound. Who are you? Strangely, Shinong didn't seem to hear its voice, and he was still talking to himself. Instead, a voice came from the empty position beside him. Sure enough, it's not enough to simply manipulate the 5 senses. I have to manipulate the perception of chakra. Well, I have to continue to improve it. Although I don't quite understand what you mean, you should be an enemy. Since you are an enemy. Zero's body suddenly skyrocketed, and his voice was sharp as he laughed. Then become my nutrients. However, Shinong suddenly became furious. How dare you bite me? Don't you understand who is the master? Shinong's hand seals were formed, and Zero rolled and roared in pain. Ah, how can this be? Because in his eyes, the person you are attacking is not me. Shinong didn't seem to know what he heard, and with his anger still lingering, he opened a secret compartment from the stone pillar next to him, and took out a scroll from it. But in the next moment, Garashi took the scroll from his hand, and looked at it with interest. Shinong didn't notice it at all, and his face was filled with anger. Humph. It seems that I have to add another seal on you. Seeing this absurd scene, even Zero, who feeds on darkness, felt an inexplicable fear in his heart. Who the hell are you? He couldn't see the other party, and even the voice was deliberately spoken for him. In this case, even if he could sense the existence of chakra, it would be useless. Garashi didn't answer him, but flipped the scroll and said to himself, a very old seal. It seems a little outdated. What do you want to do? In the blink of an eye, Shushi had seized Zero Tail's first authority, and then completely hidden it. After howling in pain, Zero looked in a certain direction with eyes full of fear. Master. But even so, Garashi still didn't show himself, but sat calmly on the throne. Tell me how you were born. Garashi was indeed interested in Zero's ability to devour negative emotions. In his impression, the ability of the monster in the box of bliss in Ghost Lantern City, that could read people's minds, seemed to be similar to Zero's. Sorry, Master. I can only truly retrieve my previous memories after I am completely resurrected. Zero answered in fear and trepidation. Garashi didn't force it, just like how he didn't open the box of bliss 2 years ago. Some things shouldn't be rushed. Seeing that there was no sound, Zero, who thought that its master was angry, became anxious, and directly bit off its body, throwing out a part of the meat to curry favor. Master. My body can convert negative emotions into chakra. You can treat it as a chakra converter. Saying that, it added, this part of the body has no consciousness. It will definitely not reveal your secret. Garashi chuckled. You are considerate. Seeing that its master wasn't angry, Zero was relieved. Master, is there anything else I can do? Guard this place for me. Shushi stood up and walked toward the outside world. Before the Sky Throne's empty window ends. He was very much looking forward to the moment when this flying fortress named Anchor Bandian rose into the sky. After confirming that the chakra had disappeared, Zero was relieved. Obviously, his means are more terrifying than anyone I have seen. But why? The chakra I sense from him is incomparably bright. Could it be that the extreme of darkness is light? It was because it sensed this that it was so fearful of its new master. It was just a beast that devoured darkness, but its master was the king that controlled the darkness. Thinking of this, it looked at Shino with disdain. Compared to this stupid waste, the new master is the one who can truly control my power. Chapter 167. In the control room, Shino looked at the tamed Zero Tail with a hint of pride in his eyes. Humph! Are you afraid now? Zero Tail directly went into a deep sleep. Otherwise, it was afraid that it would laugh out loud. Seeing that Zero Tail was afraid, Shino nodded with satisfaction. Then, the hint left by Garashi in his subconscious mind began to work. This time, I came into contact with Yinin as Shino. In the future, when I'm outside, I'll have to change my identity. Well, I'll call myself Amaterasu. Also, the subbase that I contacted Yunin before must be blown up as soon as possible. I'll shrink my strength and go into hiding again. I'll wait until the next war to truly resurrect Zero Tail. Humph. This world will eventually succumb to this old man's ambition. Hoo. Outside, Garashi looked at the underground ruins and fell into deep thought. This sky fortress should be more exquisite and elegant. Garashi knew very well that he obtained this sky fortress in order to show off, at a certain moment in the future, and weave a lie. He didn't care much about the power of the sky fortress itself. In addition to this sky fortress, this part of Zero Tail's body can be considered an unexpected surprise today. Garashi played with the piece of meat in his hand and thought to himself, the battlefield was the easiest place to collect negative emotions. With this chakra converter, he would not be lacking chakra before the end of the war. However, he was a little curious about the principle of this chakra conversion. Chakra is a mixture of physical and spiritual energy. Negative emotions can be said to be spiritual energy. But where does this physical energy come from? Could it be that such a small piece of flesh can provide almost unlimited physical energy? Thinking of this, Garashi remembered a guess he had before. Everyone has chakra in their body, and this chakra is extremely huge. Ordinary people who don't know how to refine chakra can also fall into the infinite Tsukuyomi and be affected by the illusion. This shows that ordinary people also have unknown chakra in their bodies. Dedale's chakra had been consumed, but he could still erupt with a strength far beyond his peak. Moreover, the 8 inner hidden gates allowed the user to instantly erupt with dozens of times their own strength. This also proved the fact that the untapped chakra in the human body was far more than the refined chakra. The difference was almost equivalent to the difference between crude oil in an oil field and processed oil. The former was abundant but difficult to use, while the latter was scarce but highly efficient. In fact, in Garashi's opinion, the Edo Tensei's so-called unlimited chakra was only a relative term. Compared to the amount of chakra that could be refined on a daily basis, the Edo Tensei could indeed be considered unlimited. Otherwise, if chakra was really limitless, there was no need to fight the fourth match. Patrick Star could just keep self-destructing. As for whether the human body's potential was really that great, Garashi felt that it was not impossible. 1 kilogram of uranium-238 could release 20,000 megawatt-hours of energy when all of it was fissioned. Perhaps human cells could also excavate unlimited power. In that case, I might be able to use this part of Zero Tail's body to study the secrets of the body's energy. Back at the main camp. Great Garashi-sama is back. It should be said that our hero is back. Everyone looked at Garashi with fanaticism in their eyes. They now knew the general process from Summertime Star. Not only did he inform them in advance to resolve the crisis, but he also controlled the power of the Sky Ninjas to launch revenge against Yunin. In the end, he even sneaked into the Sky Ninjas' base of destruction alone. These deeds were simply like legends. No, it should be said that these were legends. After receiving worship, Garashi met with the other executives in the conference room. Sandame laughed heartily. You didn't see it. At that time, Reikage said to me with a serious face that Woodleaf had done too many bad things and was suffering retribution. In the end, the Sky Ninjas turned around and bombed Yunin, making him so angry that his nose was crooked. Jiraiya rubbed his chin and said regretfully, I missed such a scene. Orochimaru laughed. I benefited from Garashi-kun this time. I just believed in his judgment, but in the end, I was called a wise general. Jiraiya's words were full of jealousy, and he whispered, Wise general? I think it's more like an idiot. In this cheerful atmosphere, Garashi looked dignified. In fact, there were some mistakes in my operation this time. In the end, only a subbase was destroyed. Is that so? Sandame nodded and immediately comforted. Don't worry, you have done well enough. Without Yunin's support, it would be difficult for them to organize such a large-scale operation with their own financial resources. Orochimaru also laughed. Garashi-kun still likes to pursue perfection as before. Sandame knocked on the table and said with a serious face, Garashi, I may have to trouble you to go to the Western Camp to support them. Western Camp? Well, the situation there isn't very good. Jiraiya looked strange. We didn't say anything when it was 1 against 2. Why can't the Western Camp fight 2 against 1? Sandame took a puff of his pipe. The situation there is a bit complicated. On the one hand, Hanzo's attitude is very vague. Hanzo? Jiraiya looked dignified. Hanzo is indeed a strong man who can change the battlefield with his own strength. Especially the poisonous fog of the salamander fish. It's a big killing machine on the battlefield. He has always had the ambition to develop Hidden Rain into the 6th Shinobi Village. And he often takes advantage of the battlefield when Woodleaf and Rock Crypsis are both injured to preserve their strength. Danzo and Inoki also know this, and naturally, they don't want Hidden Rain to benefit from it. Orochimaru's eyes were gloomy. It's not an honorable thing to be given the title of Sannin by Hanzo. If it weren't for Hanzo's fear of Woodleaf, and didn't want to completely fall out with them, maybe they would have already died. On the other hand, San Crypsis's attitude, Sandame continued. San Crypsis is not willing to cooperate with us to take the initiative to attack. They will only resist when Rock Crypsis attacks. Garashi pondered for a moment and said, Danzo, San is worried that San Crypsis will save their strength and attack at the last moment? Sandame nodded approvingly. Yes, between countries, only interests are the most real. The so-called alliance is only effective when both sides don't intend to break it. It's also because of these constraints that Danzo's actions in the Western Camp are difficult to carry out. Sandame-sama spoke up for his good friend. And Shushi, your main task this time is to get the Sand Village to cooperate with us as much as possible. Naruto-sama, aren't you thinking too highly of me? I don't think I can make a ninja village change their stance because of me. Garashi sighed. Don't worry, there is an opportunity right now, Sandame said with a smile. In the center of the land of fire, the land of earth, and the land of wind, a monster that uses poison has appeared. There are ninjas in all 3 camps who have been poisoned because of him, and San Crypsis has sent us a request for reinforcements. A monster that uses poison, is it Sasori? That seems to be the case. The battlefield is the perfect place for him to collect materials. After thinking for a while, Garashi asked again. But even if I save their people, it will be difficult to make San Crypsis change their stance, right? Sandame nodded slightly. He didn't expect that dozens of ninjas would be able to change San Crypsis's stance. It would be more likely if the number was increased tenfold. Although the possibility of persuading them is not high, it is still an entry point. Maybe we can find the key to breaking the stalemate in San Crypsis. Garashi took a deep breath. I understand. I will try my best to do it. Chapter 168. In a dense forest in the Western Front Camp. The distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. One was chasing and the other was escaping. Damn it, they're going to catch up. Inuzuka-senpai, take the information and run. Inuzuka scolded coldly. Shut up, I'm not going to leave you behind. Having said that, the worry in her heart still lingered. She's a Tokubetsu Jonin with 1 Chunin and 2 Genin, and even a team of Jounin from the bird country. It's too difficult to escape from Rock Crypsis with such a combination. However, after touching the tool bag on her waist, she had some confidence in her heart. With the medical scroll and Kuramaru, at least there's a chance. I have to create an opportunity for them to send back information. Just as she made up her mind, a Genin in the team suddenly exclaimed, "Not good, there's an enemy in front." Inuzuka was startled and looked over. She saw a black spot in front of her rushing towards her at a very fast speed. This speed? Inuzuka was shocked. Even if it's just pure speed, the opponent is beyond her ability to deal with. But before she could respond, she heard a surprised voice beside her. It's Garashi-senpai. The person who was hurrying along was none other than Shushi. Although Shizune and Tsunade have his special kunai, his flying thunder god jutsu can't teleport them across the distance of the fire country. To be precise, it's not that the flying thunder god jutsu can't do it, but his perception ability can't do it. That's the Inuzuka clan's ninja? Garashi saw that the dog recognized people, so he sped up to meet them. The Jounin from the bird country, who thought there were reinforcements, was disappointed to see only one person. Only one person? Inuzuka glanced at him. Pelican Jonin, don't worry, Garashi is very strong. Although she didn't have any contact with him before, she also heard of his legendary deeds in the Eastern camp. A man who can remove the 7 legendary swordsmen of the ninja sword will definitely have no problem dealing with the pursuing team. The pelican shook his head in frustration. The 3 of us can't beat the enemy. What's the use of 1 Jonin? Inuzuka Tsurugi couldn't help but twitch his mouth. How much water do you 3 Jonins have? Don't you know? In the time it took for sparks to fly off a flint, Garashi had already arrived in front of everyone. Jonin Garashi you. Garashi looked behind them and said resolutely, I'll deal with these enemies first. We'll talk about the rest later. Seeing Garashi jump out with a whoosh, the 3 Jonins of the bird country sighed endlessly. Sigh, young people are too reckless. He can't be saved. Let him do his best, and buy us more time. Seeing how scary they were, a certain Genin who wasn't very well informed about the battlefield also hurriedly said, I'll go and help too. Inuzuka Claw hurriedly stopped him. Although it may be a bit hurtful to say this, the fact is that if we go out, we will only cause trouble for him. The pelican was puzzled. Cause trouble? Inuzuka Tsurugi rolled his eyes at him. Garashi is a hero who turned the tide of war on another battlefield by himself. Even 5 of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the ninja blade were killed by him. The pelican was still puzzled. It's just 5 Jonins. Inuzuka Tsurugi took a deep breath. In our Wood Leaf's evaluation, Garashi has a powerful combat strength that can fight against 100 enemies. This time, the 3 Jonins of the bird country were shocked. 1 against 100 enemies? Amazing! That Garashi-kun is actually such a terrifying powerhouse? Inuzuka Tsurugi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The 7 legendary swordsmen of the ninja blade that could capture a small country together, in their eyes, couldn't even compare to an ordinary 100-man coalition army. Be careful of the dead 7 legendary swordsmen, jumping out from the pure land to hack you to death. As soon as his voice fell, he heard Garashi's voice. It's not that exaggerated. In fact, I just happened to be here. The pelican asked in a daze. How did you come back so quickly? Garashi laughed. Of course it's because I killed all the enemies. The 3 Jonins looked at each other, and suddenly turned their heads to look behind them. They saw that the forest was already full of corpses. West Line main camp. Is the hospital in that direction? I got it, thank you. We should be the ones thanking you. It's all thanks to you that we can come back safely. After exchanging some pleasantries, Shushi walked toward the hospital. Ah, Garashi, senpai is really too handsome and too gentle. Destroying the enemy while talking and laughing, Garashi Jonin's strength is really terrifying. While the Wood Leaf squad was excitedly discussing, The three jonins of the bird country finally woke up from their shock. So the strength of a jonin is this strong? In other words, we can also reach this level. Definitely, who isn't a jonin? Inazuka Tsurugi's eyebrows twitched. Hey, your thoughts are very dangerous. Temporary hospital. Phew, I finally did it. Shizen wiped the sweat on her forehead and said happily. Not bad, including Nanoyu. You are the second person in our camp who can complete the detoxification surgery alone. Tsunade nodded approvingly. Shizen was a little embarrassed. If it was Garashi, he would have done it long ago. Tsunade laughed. Compared to that little monster, it's purely looking for trouble. At this time, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the hospital. It's so sad, I heard Sensei making fun of me as soon as I came. The two of them turned their heads in surprise and joy, just in time to see Shushi lift the curtain and walk in. Garashi. Shizen used evil rabbit pounces and directly hung on Garashi's body. Seeing this, Tsunade sighed faintly. I should be the sad one, you came and took my disciple away. Hearing Tsunade's teasing, Shizen quickly jumped down, blushed, lowered her head, and stood on the side at a loss. After teasing for a while, Tsunade asked seriously, You are not in a hurry to go to San Crypsis, why did you come here first? Garashi's voice was serious. Woodleaf's companions are suffering, how can I leave them? Even if I have to treat them, I have to treat Woodleaf's ninja first. Garashi was very clear that his foundation was always on Woodleaf's side. If he left his poisoned companions and went to treat San Crypsis' ninja first, even if it was because of the mission, it would definitely dim his halo a lot, especially when a certain old man was spying on him. He needed to be more careful. As for whether someone would attack him for slacking on the mission, Garashi was not worried. The main reason why White Fang would be affected by the rumors was that he failed the mission. Whatever a successful person does is right, while whatever a failed person does is wrong. Therefore, Garashi only needed to ensure that he would not be blamed by his allies. And this was exactly what he was most confident about. After all, he knew San Crypsis' weakness. Chapter 169. After hearing Garashi's words, the patients and nurses in the hospital couldn't help but be moved. As expected of the pride of our Woodleaf, the first thing you think of is always our Woodleaf. Tsunade also nodded approvingly. Although she was a little disappointed with the higher-ups of Woodleaf, she still had a lot of feelings for the village built by her grandfather. Then let's start quickly. With you presiding over the surgery, the progress should be a lot faster. Garashi also quickly got into the mood. Sensei, how is the situation now? Tsunade picked up a reagent from the medical tray beside her. I have already formulated the antidote. However, their toxins have also invaded their internal organs. It requires a very high level of chakra control to use the solvent to suck out the toxins in the internal organs. And the only people in the hospital who can do this are Nanoyu and Shizen. Because of her fear of blood, Tsunade didn't mention herself. Garashi looked to the side with relief. In terms of pure medical ninjutsu, Shizen, you are already a jonin. Shizen still hadn't recovered from her previous shyness and whispered. In fact, I'm still far from it, but my control is a little better than everyone else. Moreover, performing this kind of surgery is very taxing on my mind, and it will take a long time before the next surgery can be performed. Garashi wasn't surprised. Performing surgery requires a high level of concentration, especially this kind of difficult surgery. A surgery is no less than a battle. However, if no one demonstrates, does it mean that they have to do it directly? I'll do it. Nanoyu walked in from outside the hospital. Sister Nanoyu, Garashi greeted. The nurses in the hospital greeted her one after another. It was obvious that her prestige in the hospital was not small. Nanoyu responded to them one by one, then looked at Garashi and sighed. In the past 2 years, Garashi, you have grown a lot. Even in the Western Front camp, I often hear about your deeds. Garashi frowned. But Sister Nanoyu, you seem to have become a lot more haggard in the past 2 years. Yinayu was startled and sighed. After witnessing too many deaths, it's inevitable that there will be some helplessness. With that said, she laughed at herself. However, compared to those ninjas who are fighting on the front line, My troubles are nothing. It's nothing more than the weak will of the soul. Alright, let's not talk about these disappointing things. Hurry up and start the treatment. If you stay here for too long, Garashi, our allies might protest. When he heard Yunayu's vague reminder, Garashi nodded seriously. 20 minutes later, Nonayu rubbed his swollen head. Garashi, how much have you understood? Garashi pondered for a moment. I think it should be all of them. Due to the strength of his soul and body, he won't be exhausted after 2 or 3 surgeries like other medical ninjas. It can be said that he has performed more surgeries on the Eastern Front than all of them combined. Fortunately, there were enough injuries during the war. Otherwise, the usual medical cases could not even satisfy his insatiable needs. However, it was also because of this that his experience in practical operations improved at a terrifying speed. Yunayu was puzzled. You learned it in one try? Garashi nodded gently and took the reagent from her hand. Leave the rest to me. Before Yunayu could stop him, she saw Garashi's smooth operation without a trace of sluggishness. Seeing this, Yunayu couldn't help but stare blankly. Why do I feel that Garashi's operation is smoother than mine? Tsunade looked at Shizen with some worry. Then, she saw someone looking at Garashi with admiration. Her eyes almost turned into the shape of stars. Oh, I'm actually worried about her. 17 minutes later, the operation was completed. Amazing, Jounin Shushi is really... Wait, what is Jounin Shushi doing? Performing consecutive operations? Doesn't Garashi need to rest? Seeing Garashi walking to the second patient without any pause, the nurses' little heads were a little overwhelmed. Is Shinobi Shueisha really that durable? 1 operation, 2 operations, 3 surgeries. Not only was Garashi not tired, but he was also more energetic. Even the time to complete the operation was constantly reducing. When the last operation was completed, everyone was a little bit in disbelief. The operation that troubled the entire hospital was completed in only 7 hours. Why did it feel a little unreal? The corner of Nanoya's mouth twitched slightly. I think I understand why the Eastern Front has never mentioned any medical Jonin reinforcements. They only need some Chunin and Genin. Is it because Shishiki alone can handle all the surgeries over there? The other medical ninjas muttered to themselves. I understand a qualified medical ninja should learn taijutsu and jinjutsu. Without a strong body and tenacious soul, how can he perform surgery? The next day, Garashi woke up early energetically. Thinking of yesterday's operation, he still felt a little unsatisfied. It's a pity that I have to hurry to San Crypsis. Otherwise, I would be happy to perform other operations. This is not a waste of energy. The more operations he performs, the more he understands the human body, and the smoother his subsequent biological experiments will be. In this world where lineage is paramount, biological science is the core technology, and its importance is far above any other science. Fortunately, there are a lot of experience points in San Crypsis, waiting for me to farm them. Garashi couldn't help but sigh. Orochimaru was also collecting materials, but he had to do it secretly, and bear the risk of being hunted down. But not only did he collect materials openly, but he also gained the gratitude of others. This is the superiority of medical ninja. Just as Garashi was sighing with emotion, Oily Ryoma, Danzo's #1 follower, appeared. The other party came to him and invited him. Garashi Jonin, Danzo-sama invites you to come over. Danzo-sama? Garashi raised his eyebrows slightly, but he wasn't worried. Confidence comes from strength, and with the power and prestige he has now, there is no need to be afraid of the other party. Then please lead the way, senpai. In this silent atmosphere, Oily Ryoma led Garashi to a tent and let Garashi go in, while he guarded the door like a door god. Seeing Garashi come in, Danzo's eyes were blazing. Even on the other side of the land of fire, he often heard of this person's name. He reversed the situation of the battlefield with his own strength, and was even given the title of a hero. Compared with Garashi, his subordinates are simply chickens and dogs. There is no comparison at all. He should have been my perfect tool. Thinking of this, Danzo's eyes flashed with anger. It's all because of that bastard Hiruzen. Chapter 170. Noticing Danzo's perverted eyes, Garashi felt a chill run down his spine. Danzo-san, what can I do for you? Hearing Garashi's voice, Danzo recovered from his thoughts and nodded coldly. You cured those poison ninjas in one day. You did a good job. Garashi's expression was strange. He actually heard praise from Danzo. Danzo-san, you flatter me. This is what I should do as a medical ninja. Danzo was silent for a moment and then sighed. It's a pity that a heroic ninja like you will be excluded. Have you finally found your conscience? Shushi thought to himself. I don't understand what you mean, Elder Danzo, he said with a confused expression. You are still too young. Don't you understand why Sarutobi transferred you away from the Eastern Front? I know Naruto. Sama asked me to win the support of San Crypsis. You believe this nonsense? How can San Crypsis change their attitude because of an outsider like you? Danzo sneered. He transferred you away from the Eastern Front because he doesn't want to see you perform any more meritorious deeds. Your performance has already affected his balance. Seeing the confusion in Shushi's eyes, Danzo fanned the flames again. Time will make your heroic aura fade. When the war is over, you'll be nothing more than an ordinary ninja. Garashi thought for a while, shook his head, and said, I think you are overinterpreting it, Danzo-san. Moreover, the same thing can happen from different standpoints. Maybe Naruto. Sama wants me to become a hero here? Danzo sneered. Oh, the Western Front is a quagmire. If you want to become a hero here, it will be 100 times more difficult than what you experienced in the Eastern Front. That's great. Garashi was sincerely happy. I always felt that I was too easy to be regarded as a hero. This time, I can make up for it. There really is such a person. Danzo subconsciously thought of Hiruzen when he was young. At that time, Hiruzen's light was so dazzling that he discovered the darkness in his heart. But it was precisely because of this that he hated these people. Without sunlight, he couldn't see the darkness in his heart. Thinking of this, Danzo was ashamed. It seems that you don't want to cooperate with me? Cooperation? I don't understand what you mean. This war has been going on for so long, and we still haven't seen the dawn of victory. The reason is Sarutobi's incompetence. Danzo's back straightened. His back. We should work together to overthrow Sarutobi's head and replace his head's head. Naruto. Shushi was shocked. So, Elder Danzo, you came looking for me just to. Danzo nodded proudly. Yes, that's right, I want to. Let me be Narutobi. Narutobi, do it. Danzo was startled. Huh. Something's not right. Garashi waved his hand again and again. No, my qualifications are so shallow. How can I replace Naruto-sama? Danzo also reacted at this time. He was about to curse, but after hearing Garashi's refusal, he suppressed his anger. Think about it again. Who is more suitable to be Naruto? Garashi pondered for a moment. Mature, steady, decisive, and witty. Such a person can only be. Danzo listened and nodded. Isn't he talking about this old man? He didn't expect this kid to be so good at flattering, and telling the truth. Minato-san. Danzo's eyes widened. Think about it again. Is it still not enough? Garashi asked tentatively. What about Orochimaru-sama? Orochimaru is patient and not decisive enough. He is not a hero. What about Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya-sama? He is not steady enough. He is not a hero. That's sensei. Oh, a person with hematophobia wants to be Naruto. Garashi suddenly realized. I understand. Danzo-san, you told me so much to tell me that Naruto-sama's position is irreplaceable? Danzo slammed the table and said angrily. This old man. Of course it's this old man. Garashi blinked. Danzo-san, it's still daytime. Danzo was confused. Before he could say anything, he saw Garashi getting up and walking outside. It's getting late. I'd better hurry to the San Crypsis. Seeing this, Danzo didn't stop him, but his eyes were gloomy. Shimizu Garashi, you will regret this. Walking outside, Garashi shook his head helplessly. No wonder Danzo has always been suppressed by the Sandaime. Who would want to hang out with you if you only seek revenge without any benefits? At night, in a dark corner, Nonayu calmly walked in front of a certain mummy. Danzo-san. Danzo's back was facing her. Nanoyu, I have something for you to do. Nanoyu frowned, but she didn't object. Danzo-san, please speak. Shimizu Garashi came here as the medical logistics team. I want you to command him as the captain of the medical logistics team." Without waiting for him to finish, Nanoyu interrupted him. "Sorry, I'm no longer the captain of the medical logistics team." Danzo hurriedly turned around. "What?" Nanoyu's tone was calm. "I have made a request to Naruto-sama to let Garashi be the captain of the medical logistics team and the president of Woodleaf Hospital." You actually gave up these two positions?" Danzo almost vomited blood. Nanoyu frowned. "It's my freedom to do what I want. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, Danzo-san." "Haha, good. It has nothing to do with me." Danzo was so angry that he grinded his teeth. "Do you know how many people have been able to quit Root ever since its establishment?" Nanoyu lowered her eyelids and whispered. "Only me." Danzo snorted. "Then do you know why you're the only one special?" Nanoyu said. "Because of my medical skills, Danzo-san. You want me to take charge of the medical team and give support when necessary." Danzo gritted his teeth. "Then why do you still dare to do this?" Nanoyu sighed. "Because I'm tired. Now, I just want to be an ordinary person." Danzo narrowed his eyes. "Have you ever thought about what will happen to you? If Elder Danzo wants to kill me, then just do it." Nanoyu's eyes are calm. "If you want to kill me, then just do it. I'm not that stupid to kill a former captain of the medical team." Danzo smiled. "But I heard that you opened an orphanage?" Nanoyu's calm expression finally changed. She stared at Danzo. "It's just some homeless children on the battlefield. Who knows? Maybe there's a spy sent by one of the villages." Danzo turned and walked into the shadows. "In short, have a good dream. Next time you..." While he was talking, Danzo suddenly froze and became angry. "Did that kid mean that I was dreaming during the day? Damn it, I won't forgive him." Chapter 171. Outside San Cripsis village, yellow sand covered the vast sea. "Stop quickly and report your name." A San Cripsis ninja standing on the city wall shouted. "Woodleaf reinforcements, Shimizu Garashi." Garashi replied. The San Cripsis ninja, who had already been notified, compared the drawing. "Confirmed, I'll open the gate." "It's really desolate." Taking advantage of this gap, Garashi looked around and shook his head. "It should be easy to ask a person like First Hokage-sama to help with greening the village, right? Well, it's mostly because of his boring self-esteem." While sighing, the gate opened. A team of San Cripsis ninjas came out to greet him and respectfully invited. "Garashi Jounin, please come in." With Garashi's current status, he can be regarded as a high-level Woodleaf ninja, so they naturally didn't dare to neglect him. "Thank you." Garashi nodded. "I'm already late. Please take me directly to the village hospital." "Yes." Along the way, many San Cripsis villagers pointed at them, wondering why Woodleaf ninja appeared in San Cripsis. While they were looking at Garashi, Garashi was also secretly looking around. Many villagers had a sickly complexion, and their bodies were thin and weak, completely unlike the appearance of 5 great villages. But Garashi wasn't surprised, because San Cripsis has always been poor. The Kazekage of the first Hokage still cared about face, but when the second Hokage developed puppet jutsu to enhance the war potential, it also made the poor village even worse because of the construction of puppets. At the end of the Third World War, San Cripsis could only rely on betraying the hero Pakura to survive, and during the Fourth Hokage, they fell to the point of relying on their boss to work outside. In a meeting in the original work, a ninja even mentioned that the economic source of San Cripsis at that time mainly relied on the Fourth Hokage to develop new jutsu and mining gold. In the entire village, only the Kazekage could earn foreign exchange, which showed how poor San Cripsis was at that time. When Gaara was caught, they had completely given up resistance and chose to hug Woodleaf's thigh. In this case, it was too difficult to ask the poor San Cripsis to send troops. Garashi thought, if I want San Cripsis to send troops, I have to scratch their itch and poke their pain. San Cripsis Hospital. As soon as he walked into the hospital, he heard the nervous and panicked voices of the nurses, as if there was a fierce war going on inside. Not good. The situation of Bed 35's condition. Bed 20's whole body is black. Bed 19's patient's body's body tranquilizer jutsu. Seeing this, Crips's body was body. Tell me, which bed's patients are in the worst condition? Garashi's voice seemed to be convincing, and the nurses around him replied subconsciously. Bed 35. Bed 26. Bed 7. Leave the 3 of them to me. Before the nurses in charge of these beds could react, Garashi sent 2 shadow clone jutsu to take over those beds. Wait, who are you? The young nurse was dissatisfied with the random person who took her place, and suddenly exclaimed, Are you Garashi, Sama of Woodleaf? As soon as the voice fell, the infirmary was in an uproar. Garashi, Sama who developed the medical scroll? Where is he? I heard that it's a great invention that can rewrite the medical system. For these medical ninjas, they don't care how many enemies Garashi killed on the battlefield. What they care about is Garashi's contribution to the medical system. The emergence of the medical scroll not only increased the survival rate of ninjas, but also reduced their need to go to the battlefield. The Sand Cripsis ninja who led Garashi here was stunned, pulled the sleeve of a nurse and asked. He is performing 3 surgeries at the same time. The young nurse who was carefully observing the surgery said impatiently, Oh, I know. The Sand Cripsis ninja was mad. Even if I'm not a medical ninja, I know that he can't do this, right? Of course, ordinary medical ninjas can't do this. But is he an ordinary ninja? The young nurse looked in the direction of the surgery with admiration. He is a legend among medical ninjas. This is equivalent to the top of the medical world, especially coming to a second-tier hospital to guide them. Of course, they will be ecstatic. When Raza arrived with several consultants, looking at the 3 surgeries being performed at the same time, he also joined the ranks of doubting life. Ebizo asked in a trance, Sister, in addition to the 3 sons, flowing sword technique, does Woodleaf also have 3 sons, flowing sword technique? Chio gave him a blank look. Oh, do you think this is possible? It's because I think it's impossible, so I'm confused. Ebizo sighed. It's hard to say whether this kid's medical ninjutsu has reached the level of slut woman, but in terms of efficiency, he has definitely surpassed his sensei. Chio commented. Raza was envious. If he can maintain this high efficiency, he can work 3 jobs a day. Come on, work hard. Silently encouraging himself in his heart, Raza asked again. If we increase the investment in medical resources, is it possible to cultivate a medical ninja like him? Kazakage-sama, it's not dark yet. Chio said. The root of our Sand Cripsis's weak medical strength is not only the facilities, but also the education resources. Without a good teacher, it's too difficult to rely on self-study. It seems that after the war, it's necessary to exchange studies with Woodleaf. Raza calculated in his heart, and found that Garashi showed no signs of stopping, so he left. As the Kazakage, his time is very precious. After dealing with the affairs of the Kazakage, he still has to work. Because the time of poisoning was longer, the means of suppressing the toxin were weaker, and Garashi, who has more experience, spent more time than Woodleaf. He worked from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening, and after experiencing a wave of good karma, Garashi finally finished all the operations. Sorry, I delayed your time. Garashi smiled softly. No delay, no delay. Everyone shook their head again and again. How can such a good learning opportunity be delayed? At this time, a voice suddenly interrupted. Garashi Jonin, Kazakage-sama invites you. Marky couldn't help but sigh. 2 years ago he could talk to Garashi as an equal, but now the status of the two is as different as heaven and earth. While sighing, Marky suddenly found that the eyes of the people around him were not right. Damn, I also want to ask Garashi-sama a question. The guy who is in the way, quickly disappear. The little nurses glared at Marky. The development of Sand Cripsis medical skills is hindered by this guy who has no eyesight. Marky was dumbfounded. It's only half a day. How come the name of their Sand Cripsis hospital is about to change? Is it the rhythm of changing to Garashi Hospital? Seeing that the situation is not good, Marky decisively betrayed his boss. It's none of my business. I'm just passing on the words of Kazakage-sama. The little nurses had to give up. They still respect a certain Kazakage who works for them. Therefore, They had to vent their anger on someone one by one. They gritted their teeth and muttered, "Marky, right? Remember to wear a mask before coming to the hospital next time. Or slap your face in advance." Marky wanted to cry. Is there any justice in this world? Chapter 172. San Cripsis Village Banquet Hall. Garashi Jonin, thank you for your hard work. It's so late, and you're still performing surgery. Raza sighed. How can it be hard? As a medical ninja, being able to realize my own value is something I'm looking forward to. Garashi smiled. As expected of the light of wood leaf, this awareness really makes us feel inferior. Raza said with emotion. He could feel that the other party wasn't just saying that, but he was really happy from the bottom of his heart. After sighing with emotion, he pointed to the banquet and said, Garashi Jonin, you've been working hard all day. Hurry up and eat more to replenish your strength. Otherwise, people will say that we San Cripsis don't know how to treat guests. Garashi nodded. Then I won't be polite. While toasting, a San Cripsis ninja suddenly whispered a few words in Raza's ear. Then Raza's expression became lonely. Oh, did Kankuro also fail? Seeing this, the surrounding ninjas comforted him. Kazekage-sama, don't worry. Even if he didn't directly awaken, Kankuro is likely to learn magnet release in the future. Besides, Kazekage-sama, you're still young, you can have another one. Seeing Garashi's puzzled face, Raza took the initiative to explain. I learned magnet release from the former Kazekage, but unfortunately, there is no second person in the entire San Cripsis who can learn magnet release. If I'm unfortunate enough to die in the war, San Village will be in trouble after losing the gold placer mining. Therefore, I hope that my descendants can awaken the Kekkei Jinkai of magnet release. Garashi wasn't surprised by this. Although Raza's ancestors didn't have Kekkei Jinkai of magnet release, when he learns this Kekkei Jinkai, magnet release will become a recessive gene lurking in his blood. This is also the origin of most Dojutsu Kekkei Jinkai clans, such as Rock Cripsis's Lava Release Clan and Yunin's Mist Release Clan in the Fourth Shinobi World War. It's no wonder that Raza has maintained the rate of having one child a year since the beginning of the war. It's just that the last one took a little longer to brew. Garashi sighed in his heart. Raza's ninja may be the way to work. It's not enough for him to work, but he also wants his children to work. Looking at other people's expressions, if Raza was still pure and innocent during the war, ninjas would have jumped out to accuse him. Alas, our San Cripsis is really too difficult. Garashi's eyebrows twitched wildly. He took the initiative and continued the topic with a sigh. Alas, our Woodleaf is also in a tough spot. Like Elder Danzo, he worked hard for Woodleaf all his life, and now, he's still alone. I can't stand it anymore. Raza had a constipated look on his face. Who told you about having a baby? This was an extension. Do you understand extension? Originally, he wanted to portray him as a Kage, who had to use his children as tools. But now, it's like he's a winner in life who became a Kage at a young age? I seem to be. Raza suddenly woke up. Compared with Woodleaf who wanted to be a Naruto but couldn't, he seems to be a winner in life. However, even if his thoughts were disrupted, Raza still forced himself to continue. Yes, it's not easy for everyone. So can your village provide us with a long-term loan? Isn't this turn of events a little too abrupt? Shushi thought helplessly. Is he going to beg instead of acting pitiful? Garashi pondered for a moment. I don't have the right to decide this, but Elder Danzo is a close friend of Naruto, Sama and Naruto. Sama has always been concerned about Danzo's marriage. If Kazekage-sama can help solve this problem, maybe Naruto, Sama will be happy and agree? Raza was puzzled. I can help solve this problem? Garashi looked at Ebizo on the side and said tentatively, Is your village's Chiyo-san interested? Chiyo was too lazy to join in the fun, otherwise, he wouldn't dare to make such a proposal. This time, it was Raza's turn to be dumbfounded. He knew how difficult it was to deal with Chiyo. If he really went to persuade her, she wouldn't care whether he was the Kazekage or not. Although this was only Garashi's personal proposal, Raza knew that if he couldn't do this, Naruto would have a reason to refuse without hurting their relationship. Ebizo thought seriously. If someone can suppress my sister's temper, it seems good. Of course, the premise is that Kazekage-sama should bring more antidotes. Seeing Garashi kicking the ball back into his own hands, Raza couldn't help but sigh. He was really worthy of being the person that Naruto thought highly of. He was too difficult to deal with. Seeing Raza lost in thought, Garashi said, "In addition, there is actually another solution." Although Raza instinctively felt that it was another trouble, he still asked, "What is it?" "Kazekage-sama, another mission I came here for is to ask you to officially send troops to fight. If you are willing to send troops, Naruto-sama will not be stingy with the loan." Raza's eyebrows twisted into a mess. He wanted supplies, but he didn't want to send manpower. After a moment of struggle, Raza sighed. "Alas, our San Crypsis is too difficult. We have the largest territory and the longest line of the 5 major countries, but we may have the least ninjas. We can't take the extra force to cooperate with your village to take the initiative to attack." Ebizo echoed. "In addition, our San Crypsis's important combat power, the Ichibi's Jinchuriki Fukusan, is very old. He can't go to the battlefield, and we have to be careful of the Ichibi's rampage." Raza finally reluctantly said, "How about we send 50 elite ninjas from San Crypsis? Jounin? Chunin?" Without waiting for Garashi's response, Raza asked again, "By the way, when will your with Leaf support arrive?" The surrounding Jounin looked at Raza with moved eyes. The Kazekage-sama was really working too hard. For the development of the village, he didn't plan to lose face at all. "Let's pretend I didn't say this." Garashi sighed and asked, "Kazekage-sama, can you send a team to the desert with me to find the enemy this time?" Raza hesitated. "That guy is very strong. Shouldn't we wait for the poisoned people to wake up and ask for information before dealing with him?" Garashi shook his head. "We can't wait. Every day we wait, more of our companions may be killed by him. Those poisoned ninjas were lucky. Most of them were killed by the enemy on the spot." Seeing Raza still hesitating, Garashi added, "Don't worry about poisoning. I brought enough antidotes this time. It should be enough to deal with the enemy. Not only in his previous life, but people in this world also like to compromise. If he directly asked for cooperation to kill the enemy, Raza may not agree. But if he proposed to send troops, they would be willing to deal with the enemy. Although the situation this time is a bit different, considering that he just rejected Garashi's proposal, Raza didn't want to embarrass the other side too much. With the cooperation of a top medical ninja like Garashi, he didn't think there would be any problems. Therefore he agreed. "When are you going to start?" "Tomorrow." Garashi certainly has to hurry up. If the poison San Crypsis ninjas wake up and reveal the identity of the enemy, the San Crypsis won't let him participate in the internal affairs of the village. Now that the decision has been made, Raza no longer hesitated. "Okay, I will let Pakura take a team to cooperate with you." Chapter 173. The next day, early in the morning, Garashi was waiting at the gate of the city early in the morning. When it was nearly 8 o'clock, a young female ninja with a bun on her head came over with a team of ninjas. "You are Garashi, right? Sorry to keep you waiting." Looking at the boy in front of her, Pakura was a little surprised. Unlike her who was touted as a hero, this boy proved himself as a hero on the battlefield of Yunin with countless achievements. Of course, she didn't think that she was much weaker than him. "If the village takes the initiative to join the war, I can definitely do it." She was so active this time because she secretly wanted to compete. "Actually, I haven't been here for long." Garashi smiled gently and looked at the ninjas behind Pakura. "Can you introduce me? They are Jonin Zhongliang, Jonin San Chunin Marki." In addition to Pakura, there were 2 Jonins and 8 Chunins. In the eyes of anyone other than Garashi, such a force was more than enough to deal with a wandering ninja. But in Shushi's opinion, among these people, only Pakura could be of some use. The others were probably just salted fishes who would cry out for help. But it doesn't matter. The only reason I brought them along was to let them witness the truth. Thinking of this, Shushi distributed the antidote with a bright smile. "Although you are all elites of San Crypsis, and dealing with a wandering ninja is certainly not a problem. But for the sake of safety, You should bring these antidotes. Consider it as a reward for protecting me, a medical ninja. These Sand Crypsis ninjas couldn't help but have a good impression of Garashi. His medical skills were strong, his attitude was good, and the most important thing was that he spoke well. Only Marky secretly complained, medical ninja? The fiercest one among us is probably you, a medical ninja. Pakura also took the antidote and asked, what should we do next? Should we split up to find the enemy? No, it's too dangerous for them to split up. Zhong Liang said with a good feeling. Let's use my sand eye. Sandstone touched his right eye. As long as my eye flies high enough, I can clearly see the terrain within a few hundred meters. Let me summon the desert fox and use its hearing to find the enemy. What's the point of hearing? Do you know what kind of sounds the enemy will make? Seeing that they were arguing fiercely, Garashi shook his head and said, leave the sensing to me. Give it to you? Sandstone wondered. Aren't you a medical ninja? Garashi laughed. I occasionally work as a sensor ninja. How's your perception range? If it doesn't work, let me use the sand eye. There are too few life forms in the desert. Even when I listen to the sound of all things, I can only sense a small portion of the desert. Less than half of the desert. Sand and Stone had a suspicious look on his face that said, don't lie to me. I'm not well educated. There's no harm in trying. Garashi smiled and sat down. 5 minutes later, the immortal's face appeared. Is this the legendary sage mode? Pakura looked at him with interest. Garashi squatted down and inserted his right hand into the sand. After a while he stood up. Did you find the enemy? Although I didn't find it directly, I found some rock Crypsis ninjas' corpses in the northwest direction. Maybe I can try to find it from there. The Sand Crypsis ninjas around were stunned. Really? He could perceive so much information just by inserting his hand? What would happen if he inserted his hand into someone's body? Would he even know their measurements? Cough. How many ninjutsu they know? Gobi Desert. You are Sasori of the Sand Crypsis? Damn it, this is a trap. The rock Crypsis ninja who was covered in blood said with grief and indignation. Sachikage-sama asked them to come in contact with him. Wasn't this asking them to die? Sasori wasn't interested in explaining anything to the dead. He just calmly killed them and began to make puppets. 137th collection, I guess. At the same time, the Sand Crypsis ninjas came to the Gobi Desert under the guidance of Garashi and saw someone who was searching their corpses with his back facing them. Seeing Garashi find the enemy so easily, the Sand Crypsis ninjas couldn't believe it. Not only medical ninjutsu, but even his perception is so strong. It's a little bit better than my sand eye. Because Garashi took on the task of perceiving, the Sand Crypsis ninjas who didn't contribute much were a little embarrassed. Haha, leave it to us. Garashi-sama, just enjoy the battle of our Sand Crypsis ninjas. Seeing them so active, Garashi was embarrassed to argue with them and stepped aside with a smile. Then it's up to you. After saying that, they used the sand hiding technique to sneak over. But the closer they got to the enemy, the more they felt something was wrong. This guy's back looked a little familiar. At this time Sasori, who was dealing with the enemy's corpse, turned around. I hate being disturbed in the process of creating art, even if it's my former companions. He hasn't made any puppets yet, so naturally, he was recognized by everyone at a glance. Shocked, everyone stopped hiding and jumped out from under the sand and stones. Zhongliang said in a deep voice, "It's you, Sasori of the Red Sand." Sand's tone wasn't so good. "Sasori, it's you who killed your fellow villagers. This time, even Elder Chio won't be able to protect you." Sasori's eyes were very calm. "Idiot. Do I have to say it myself to understand the fact that I betrayed the village?" Although they had already guessed it, when they heard the answer from Sasori, they still couldn't understand. Why would a person like you betray the village? Damn it, what did the village do to you? In their view, if Sasori didn't betray the village at that time, with his talent and background, it's even possible for him to compete with the Kazekage. Scorpion tilted his head and gave a stiff smile. "I don't care what the reason is. Just take it that I'm tired of this boring house game." Zhongliang asked coldly. "Let's put the betrayal aside first. I ask you, do you know the whereabouts of Sandame-sama?" Sasori said frankly, Yes, I know I killed him. Zhong Liang subconsciously sneered. Sandaime-sama is the strongest Kazekage in history. How could he be killed by you? San's face was gloomy. There should be a limit to boasting. That's why I hate to communicate with you mediocre people. Sasori sighed and his eyes were calm. Enough nonsense. Let's send you on your way. Although they knew that the enemy was the former super genius of the puppet unit, the Sand Crypsis ninjas didn't panic too much, because they didn't find any puppets around Sasori. No matter how powerful a puppet master is, without a puppet, the threat will be reduced by more than half. Therefore, instead of retreating, they quickly approached Sasori. Catch him directly. Don't give him a chance to summon a puppet. Chapter 174. Sasori calmly raised his right hand and opened his fingers, as if he was plucking the strings. Seeing this, Zhong Liang and Sandstone became vigilant. Could it be that Sasori's puppets are still hidden around? As soon as the two slowed down their pace, they heard a slight sound behind them. They didn't have time to think about it, and subconsciously dodged to the side. The next moment, several wind blades flew past where they were originally, and the remaining momentum split the rock in front of them into two halves. That was close. At the same time, the two of them turned around in fear, and saw Marky and the others attacking them with astonished expressions. What's going on? My body doesn't listen to me. Get out of the way. I can't control myself. Seeing this, Sandstone looked at Sasori with shock and anger. You are controlling them, Sasori said calmly. Do you have to ask the obvious? Exercise human body manipulation. Under Sasori's control, the 8 Chunin even exerted strength far beyond their own level, and Zhong Liang didn't dare to hit them too hard, so they had the upper hand for a while. At this moment, 2 big flowing fireballs crossed the battlefield, and the sound of broken strings was heard. The 8 of them staggered and finally regained control of their bodies. The 8 of them who regained control of their bodies immediately hid far away from Sasori, looking at him with eyes full of fear. This ability to forcibly control the body is terrible. Sure enough, it's still a bit troublesome to control a living person. Sasori shook his head slightly. Under normal circumstances, his chakra threads are not so easy to attack. He looked at Pakura again. Are you the hero Pakura, who was praised by those high-level people after I left? Why, what advice do you have for a traitor? Pakura also looked dignified. With the lethality of her scorch release, she encountered a lot of obstacles when burning those chakra threads. As expected of the genius who shocked the entire Sand Crypsis before her. Even if he is much younger than her, his strength seems to be far above her. Fortunately, there are no puppets around him. Sasori looked up and down at Pakura with appreciation of art. If it weren't for his pure eyes, Pakura would have thought that she met a pervert. Scorch escapes bloodline inheritance? Not bad. Looks like I can have another proud collection. As he spoke, Scorpion raised his hands. Chakra strings extended from his fingertips, controlling the 10 rock Crypsis ninjas on the ground to stand up. Seeing this, the Sand Crypsis ninjas were shocked again. Being able to control 3 or 4 puppets at the same time is already considered a jonin. Simultaneously controlling 10 puppets. Only the legendary first-generation puppet master and Elder Chio were able to do it. And Scorpion was able to do it at such a young age. This is already the pinnacle of puppeteers, able to control a corpse with a single finger. How terrifying! As expected of the genius of the puppet troupe. Although he was controlling 10 corpses at the same time, because there was no resistance, these corpses were more flexible than the previous 8. No matter how Pakura's big fireball chased after them, there was no way to burn those chakra lines. Seeing this scene, the rest of the Sand Crypsis ninjas reminded him. Pakura-sama, we will block these corpses. You attack his body. Yes, the biggest weakness of puppeteers is their own body. They didn't intend to ask Garashi to come out and help. On the one hand, they talked big before. And on the other hand, they didn't want Woodleaf to intervene in the internal affairs of Sand Crypsis. Even the defected ninjas need Woodleaf's help to clean them up. It would be too shameful if word got out. Pakura nodded, her eyes sharpened. She used the big fireball to open a path in front of her while she rushed towards Scorpion. Scorpion opened his mouth and spat out a few poisonous needles, which Pakura easily dodged, then accelerated her sprint. Although the distance between her and Scorpion was getting closer and closer, Pakura had a faint premonition in her heart. The other party was too calm. Except for the poisonous needles at the beginning, he didn't make any resistance, which was really not the performance of a genius. However, she didn't have time to think about it. Scorch release, steam kill. Then, something that Pakura couldn't understand happened. The trick that could instantly evaporate the opponent and turn them into a dried corpse actually failed. Taking advantage of Pakura's shock, Scorpion's hand chopped down. Puppeteer using taijutsu? Pakura was confused and subconsciously raised her kunai to block. Then, in front of her incredulous eyes, Scorpion used his palm to break the kunai, and without any reduction in power, he chopped towards her forehead. It's over. Just as Pakura was about to close her eyes and wait for death, a handsome back appeared in her sight. In the next moment, Scorpion was sent flying by a punch. Sir Garashi! Pakura exclaimed in surprise and joy, and immediately saw Garashi's hand dripping blood. Your hand! It's fine. Garashi quickly made hand seals, then put his left hand on the injured right hand. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. That's good. By the way, how did you? Pakura suddenly realized. Is it because of the antidote? Sorry, those potions have my flying thunder god technique on them. While explaining, Scorpion stood up from the gravel ground. What a hard fist. I wonder if you're a human. I should be the one saying that. You shouldn't be a human now, right? Hearing Garashi's question, the surrounding Sandcrypsis were inexplicable. Not a human. Was it a tailed beast that fought with them? Scorpion sighed softly. Life is too fragile and insignificant. Just a little wave can make a fresh life disappear. Sandcrypsis asked loudly. What are you trying to say? Scorpion pressed his forehead and laughed. Humans have limits. From my short life, I learned a truth. The more I resist death, the more I will find the fragility of life, unless I surpass human beings, so I'm not a human anymore. With that, Scorpion lifted his upper body. A mechanical window opened on his lower abdomen, and a steel cable stretched out from it, and behind him, a spiral blade flashed with cold light. Pakura asked in horror, You transformed yourself into a puppet? Sand and Stone swallowed his saliva with difficulty. Lunatic, this guy is a lunatic. It's okay to be ruthless to the enemy, but the other party is even more ruthless to himself. Scorpion wasn't angry at their reaction. He just sighed calmly. Artists are always lonely, and I don't expect mediocre ninjas like you to understand the true meaning of art. Zhong Liang and others' mouths twitched. They have no interest in understanding this so-called art. If there's no joy in being a human, what's the point of living? Thinking of this, their eyes couldn't help but glance at Scorpion's lower body. He wouldn't have transformed it into a weapon, right? Fortunately, they didn't bring any puppeteers with them this time. Otherwise, they suspected that the puppeteers would betray them after seeing this scene. Scorpion flaunted proudly. What do you think? My art is passable, right? The Sandcrypsis ninjas couldn't answer. They really couldn't give a false evaluation of this masterpiece that exceeded the limits of puppeteers. Garashi rubbed his hands and said, Hundreds of puppets. All of them are broken. It must be troublesome to repair them. Scorpion was stunned for a moment and immediately chuckled. Oh, worthy of being Woodleaf's hero. Your tolerance is indeed much better than theirs. As soon as he finished speaking, the puppets flying in the sky began to move. Of these hundreds of puppets, Scorpion divided 10 to deal with the ordinary Sandcrypsis ninjas, 5 to deal with Pakura, and the rest all rushed to Garashi. Seeing this, the Sandcrypsis ninjas were ashamed and angry. A Sandcrypsis ninja only used a small part of his energy on them. Damn it, we are really being underestimated. Controlling so many puppets at the same time, it's impossible for him to use all of them. Protect Garashi. Yes, priority is to protect the medical ninja. Before he could finish his sentence, they saw Shushi destroy a puppet with a single punch. It turns out that these puppets are so fragile. Sandrock's eyes lit up, and he directly rushed up. "Don't go!" Before Marky could finish his words, he saw Sandrock flying back with blood spurting out of his mouth. With his strength as a jonin, he shouldn't be so embarrassed, but he attacked the puppet's body. Of course, he was looking for trouble. When he looked at Garashi again, Sandrock's eyes were not right. What kind of medical ninja is this? He's clearly a super beast. On the other side, 3 puppets have been broken under Garashi's feet, which made Scorpion feel a little sad. Is this Sage Mode? Didn't you say that Sage Mode needs to be charged? Garashi didn't have time to answer Scorpion's doubts. Although in the one-time Sage Mode, as long as he doesn't open 5 gates and doesn't use Sage Mode casually, he can still maintain it for a relatively long time. But he also knows that Scorpion still has a big killer in his hand that hasn't been used yet. It's best for him to conserve his strength as much as possible. "Oh, then let me see the power of Sage Mode," Scorpion whispered, controlling the puppets to shoot poison needles at Garashi from all directions. Senbenzata Shigure. He can see that Garashi's perception in this state is very sensitive, and a strong single attack is likely to be dodged. So he uses an area attack that the opponent can see and can't avoid. Although the attack power of these poison needles is not strong, the poison on the needles is very fierce. As you wish. Garashi closed his eyes and attacked the puppets with Chakra's perception. As time went by, Scorpion felt more and more that something was wrong. Not only Senbenzata, but his puppets were also poisoned. According to Garashi's fighting style, they should have been poisoned to death long ago. However, not only did he not show any signs of being poisoned, even the wounds caused by the poison needles had healed, and his opponent didn't even have time to perform any hand seals to heal him. Scorpion sighed softly. "Seems like this is the real reason why you're using Sage Mode?" Garashi laughed. "You saw through me." He chose to enter Sage Mode, not only to increase his strength, but also because of the characteristics of Sage Mode. Although the Sage Mode of the Shikatsu Forest was not as flashy as the other 2 Holy Lands, it came with self-healing and anti-poison characteristics, which directly offset the advantage of the puppets by more than half. In a sense, he was the nemesis of these puppet masters. On the other side, seeing that Garashi had already destroyed more than 10 puppets, while they were still being pestered by the remaining 10 puppets, Shashur and the others were ashamed. Healing, perception, and fighting were all taken care of by Garashi, an outsider. It made them look like they were all useless. Pakura also secretly sighed. She originally wanted to compete with Garashi, but now it seems that her so-called Sand Crypsis hero was indeed far inferior to Garashi, the Wood Leaf hero. At this time, Scorpion took out a scroll from behind him. "Sigh, I didn't want to use him. After all, if word of this spread, it would be more troublesome to deal with the other Kage. So please go to hell when you see him." Chapter 176. He still has a trump card. Zhong Liang and the others swallowed their saliva secretly. When did the geniuses of Sand Crypsis become so powerful? If it wasn't for Garashi, they might not even be able to block the enemy's first wave of attack. Speaking of which, it took me a lot of effort to kill him. Sasori opened the scroll, and the next moment, a tall figure appeared in front of everyone. "Come on, my favorite collection, the 3rd Kazekage." Seeing this scene, several Chunin were so scared that they even dropped their kunai to the ground. The 3rd Kazekage. He said that he killed the 3rd Kazekage. Is it true? Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. He dared to kill the Kazekage. This is no longer a simple act of betrayal. Seeing how angry they were, Shushi was secretly delighted. This was exactly the reaction he had been waiting for. Only with their testimonies would his words be credible. Such a scandal, presumably Sand Crypsis can't ignore it. While Garashi was secretly planning, a group of Sand Crypsis ninjas were also angry. And what followed was infinite shock. The 3rd Kazekage was known as the strongest Kazekage in history, and Sasori was only 15 years old 2 years ago. Such a strong contrast made their brains almost stop working. What kind of talent is it to kill the strongest Kazekage at the age of 15? Thinking of this, their hearts were full of regret. If Sasori didn't betray and didn't kill the Kazekage, with his talent, he may have led San Crypsis to become stronger. Zhongliang asked with red eyes. Why did you kill the Kazekage? Sasori replied indifferently. Because he was incompetent. San said angrily. The third Kazekage is the strongest Kazekage in history. How can he be incompetent? In Sasori's view, the village Kage couldn't protect the village and caused his parents to be killed. This is the greatest incompetence. However, he didn't intend to explain so much to them. Oh, you can think of it as me testing my capacity. Although they still wanted to say something, Sasori didn't intend to waste his breath with them. Since you're so angry, dying under the Kazekage's ability is a good choice for you. Seeing a large amount of iron sand condense in the sky, the few of them broke out in cold sweat. How is that possible? You can even use the abilities of the third generation? Why are puppets able to use bloodline limits? Of course, their fears were unfounded. Scorpion did not take out his trump card to deal with small fries like them. Magnetic release, iron sand time rain. Iron sand poured down from the sky like ocean waves. There were so many of them, and they covered such a large area, that it was almost impossible to dodge. Immortal technique slug body. The thin iron needles shot into Garashi's body, but in the next moment, those iron needles pierced through Garashi's back, as if they had shot into a body made of water. Even the toxins on the iron sand were absorbed. Then Hatoe. Seeing Garashi spitting, Sasori decisively controlled the Kazekage to condense an iron sand wall in front of him. However, the wall made of iron sand was instantly corroded, and a big hole appeared. What a strong corrosive ability! Sasori sighed in his heart, then raised his hands and sprayed 2 violent flames from his palms. Flame prison formation. Sasori used the flames from the scroll on his back. The temperature was high enough to melt rocks, and vaporized the sprayed acid in an instant. The acid mist spread out, as if it was a protective barrier for Sasori. Where it touched, even the rocks and sand were corroded. Sandstone and the others, who were still struggling with the puppets, were so scared that they retreated. However, Garashi was unimpeded in the acid mist, and rushed to Sasori's position. Magnetic release, iron sand barrier. The dense iron sand filled the sky, and attacked the enemies inside the barrier indiscriminately. The range was large, the speed was fast, and the frequency was high. This was the strongest attack in the Kazekage's hand. He once relied on this attack to kill hundreds of enemies in an instant. However, Garashi didn't even have the slightest change in expression. He let the iron thorns penetrate his body, and then suppressed the Kazekage. Seeing this, Sasori was a little tired. Physical attack is ineffective? Poison is ineffective? Sandaime Kazekage's strongest physical attack, and his strongest poison attack seemed weak in front of this opponent. This was the first time he had encountered an enemy who was so difficult to deal with, and who had the ability to counter him. Even if he faced the other Kage of the other villages, he wouldn't be so tired. However, I heard that Sage Mode has a time limit. As long as I can survive this period, victory will still belong to me. Zhongliang and the others were even more dumbfounded. They knew that Garashi was fierce. But even the Kazekage was beaten. Isn't this too fierce? They really couldn't connect the previous gentle and modest boy with the ferocious monster who beat the Kage of the other villages. Seeing this, they couldn't help but secretly think. He's called Woodleaf Tiger by the people of Kirin. It's not without reason. But when Sasori thought that Garashi could defeat him, Garashi also secretly sighed. Sasori's state seems to be just right to restrain his Jinjutsu. Most of Sasori's body was transformed into a puppet. He has almost no superfluous emotions, even close to a cold dead thing. In this case, even Garashi's Jinjutsu is difficult to work. Of course, it's not completely impossible. As long as it's not a real puppet, there must be a hole in his heart. It's just that Garashi didn't intend to really kill Sasori, so he pretended not to know the opponent's flaw. Even my Jinjutsu didn't work on you. Is your heart made of stone? While beating up the Kazekage, Rinsei was still surprised. That's what I want to say. Is your body made of stone? Seeing the Kazekage being violently dismantled, Sasori was a little depressed. This was his most perfect collection. Acid finger gun. While Sasori was distracted, Garashi's index finger tip suddenly shot a bullet like acid liquid. Because Garashi has been fighting with the Kazekage and attacked from Sasori's blind spot. When Sasori reacted, it was too late for him to dodge. He could barely avoid the attack. Bayu! Sasori's perfect body was instantly pierced, leaving a terrible hole in his left shoulder blade. While suppressing the Kazekage, he still has the strength to attack me. What kind of monster is this guy? Even with Sasori's almost absolutely rational heart, he was a little scared at this moment. Fortunately, after Garashi used this attack, the lines in the corner of his eyes began to dissipate at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this scene, Sasori chuckled softly. Next, it seems that it's my turn to counterattack. Before his voice fell, Garashi clapped his hands. Sorry, you may have to wait a little longer. The smile on Sasori's face froze. Chapter 177. At this moment, Sasori's heart was full of question marks. The stronger the effect, the greater the restriction, like Garashi's all-round buff. There is no weakness after using it, and even after using it, he can still enter Sage mode continuously. It is simply outrageous. This is obviously unreasonable, isn't it? What? His 100 machine drill is also a cheat? Chakra made from a small piece of flesh can control hundreds of puppets, and the third Kazekage puppet is also a cheat? Oh, that's all right. Sasori's eyes returned to calmness. As expected of the hero of Woodleaf, this battle with you is even more difficult than the assassination of the third Kazekage 2 years ago. Zhong Liang and others were depressed, although they were happy to see Sasori's defeat. Every time Sasori's defeat is based on the third Kazekage's dignity being trampled on. This is very embarrassing. Garashi naturally won't let him destroy the friendly relationship between himself and the Sand Crypt's companions. You also said that it was an assassination. Under normal circumstances, of course, I am far from being the opponent of the Kazekage-sama. Sasori's mouth twitched slightly. Before you say this, can you first return the left arm of the third Kazekage that was torn off? Although I don't want to admit it, but I really can't defeat you now. With that, Sasori turned his eyes to Zhongliang and others. In this case, I have to change my strategy. Looking at Sasori's cold eyes, the Sand Crypt's members felt a chill in their hearts. Although Sasori can only be beaten in front of Garashi, for them, he is a strong person that they can never reach. Hurry up and run. I'll stop him. Shushi shouted. Hearing Garashi's voice, everyone suddenly woke up. Running away is very shameful, but they will only add trouble to Garashi if they stay here. Don't think about running away, Iron Sand Barrier. The third Kazekage opened his iron sand wings and flew to the sky, shooting countless iron thorns from above. Triple Rashomon. At Shushi's command, 3 Hell's Gates appeared out of nowhere and blocked all of the spikes. Looking at the battered Hell's Gate, Zhongliang and the others breathed a sigh of relief. We're saved. As expected of the Kazekage-sama's technique, it's too strong. Seeing that they didn't forget to save their dignity at this time, Pakura angrily said, Run! Don't get in the way here. The Rashomon can't be moved, so the Kazekage only needs to pass through them from the sky. The most troublesome thing is that it is difficult for them to attack the Kazekage in the sky. What are you going to do now? Scorpion chuckled. Unlike before, he was worried about the puppets that were destroyed by Garashi, so he made the Kazekage give up his air superiority and become a close guard to protect his safety. Now, he no longer intended to be stingy with those ordinary puppets. Even if Garashi kills one in a second, it will take more than a minute to get close to him. And that time is enough for the Kazekage to kill those small fish ninjas 100 times. If Garashi chooses to protect those small fish ninjas, that would be even better. As long as he exhausts their chakra, he can easily harvest the perfect material. But at this time Pakura's voice sounded. Garashi-sama, leave this to me. Pakura-sama, you. The extreme temperature can melt these iron sand in an instant. Although I am not the opponent of the previous Kazekage, I should be able to stop him for a while. Pakura firmly looked at the Kazekage in the sky. I bet on the name of the Sand Crypsis. I will not let the glory of the Kazekage be blasphemed by such a traitor. I understand. Garashi calmed down and looked at Sasori, who was protected by layers of puppets. Are you ready to be smashed into pieces? Garashi put his right hand into the tool bag, grabbed a shuriken, and threw it to the opposite side. Because the previous enemy was the Kazekage, who controlled the magnet release Kekei Genkai, he didn't use the shuriken to locate his coordinates. Now he can start killing unscrupulously. Flying Thunder God Jetsu. Sasori naturally quickly thought of the other party's famous ability, and hurriedly controlled the puppets to break the shuriken. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. Garashi directly teleported to the shuriken closest to Sasori, which was equivalent to crossing half of the human wall in an instant. The surrounding puppets fiercely attacked Garashi, and all kinds of ninjutsu poured on Garashi. Obviously, Sasori also knew that physical attacks and poison attacks were ineffective against Garashi. Even if he used the release jutsu he wasn't good at, he could only bite the bullet. However, Garashi's application of the release jutsu was far above him. As soon as he saw the seals of those puppets, he understood Sasori's plan, and hid in the ground in advance. Garashi calculated the time and jumped to the ground at the moment when the various water, fire, and wind jutsu disappeared, and rushed to the puppets like a tiger in a flock of sheep. Looking at Garashi punching one puppet, Sasori's eyebrows jumped wildly. After this battle, his collection would be reduced by at least 5 years. No, if this continued, he might even be beaten to a pulp. It seems that I can only do it myself. Two-sword flow spiral slash. Sasori seized the opportunity. While Garashi was surrounded by other puppets, he grabbed the 2 spiral slashes behind him and slashed at Garashi. He was different from those weak puppeteers. He had cultivated body arts, and he had even modified his body into the strongest weapon. Even in close combat, he was still Shushi grabbed the spiral slash and pulled hard. Scorpion was pulled into the air by the steel cable. Then like a meteor hammer, Shushi slammed Scorpion into the ground. Boom! The ground trembled heavily, and Sasori felt that his body was about to fall apart. Too careless. Although his body suffered heavy damage, Sasori didn't panic. He thought to himself, although my body is stronger, it seems that I can't compare with him in terms of use. Maybe I should give up attack and focus on defense. Thinking of this, Sasori no longer hesitated, and directly recalled the 3rd Kazekage. Want to escape? Garashi shouted coldly. Are you sure you don't want to save her? That Sand Crypsis ninja is not a monster immune to poison like you. Sasori calmly asked. Garashi turned his head, and found that Pakura had fallen to the ground, and he didn't know whether she was dead or alive. When he looked back, Sasori had jumped on the 3rd Kazekage's back, and recovered the broken puppets through the chakra line. But because of the influence of the 3rd Kazekage's magnetic force, his smooth operation was a little sluggish. My previous evaluation was wrong. Even if there is no Kekei Genkai, you are more perfect than the 3rd Kazekage. Sasori manipulated the 3rd Kazekage to fly to the sky. The next time we meet, I will capture you. Garashi didn't care about Sasori's words at all. After all, their intelligence was completely different. If he really wanted to kill Sasori, it would be almost effortless. As long as he dragged Sasori into the illusion of his parents, and took advantage of the moment when he was absent-minded, he would be able to break his regenerative nucleus. The next time we meet, I'm looking forward to talking with you about regenerative nucleus technology. Garashi shook his head and smiled, turned and walked toward Pakura. Chapter 178. She's badly injured. Shushi checked Pakura's wounds, then frowned and started treating her. In all fairness, Pakura's strength wasn't weak. She couldn't even last a minute, because the Kazekage was too strong. After being made into a puppet, although it's a bit less flexible and conscious, various mechanisms and poisons can completely make up for the shortcomings. It's a pity that these methods are ineffective against him. Garashi Jonin Pakura-sama. Seeing the iron sand disappear from the sky, the Sand Crypsis ninjas who were struggling for a while quietly rushed back. Then they saw a shocking scene in front of them. There were puppet wreckage everywhere. The ground was torn apart, and the molten iron sand flowed on the ground. What's even more shocking is that Pakura was stabbed into a hedgehog on the ground. Seeing their worried look, Garashi comforted them. Don't worry, there are a lot of toxins in her body, but it's not long. It's easy to remove them. Hearing Garashi's words, everyone was relieved. That's good, that's good. Seeing that they seemed to be at a loss, Garashi smiled. If I were you, I would go and count the spoils now. Although there are only some wreckage left, with Sasori's strength, even if it's just a defective product, it should be worth a lot. Zhongliang and the others' eyes lit up. As long as they say that Sasori manipulated 100 puppets, even if it's just some wreckage, it will definitely be bought by those crazy puppeteers at a high price. However, they were a little embarrassed. We didn't do anything. These spoils should belong to you, Garashi Jonin. Garashi didn't care. I'm a wood-leaf ninja. What do I need these puppets for? Zhongliang and the others looked at each other, then happily picked up the trash. Half a day later, everyone appeared in front of the gate of the Sand Crypsis village with big and small bags. Seeing everyone return, the ninja on duty immediately came down to open the door, then looked at Pakura, who was on Garashi's shoulder, and exclaimed, What happened to Pakura-sama? He's injured, but he should be fine now. Garashi answered concisely and immediately asked, Where is Kazakage-sama? We have something to report to him. Kazakage-sama might be in the Kazakage building right now. Kazakage building. Luosha's face was cold. What did you say? Even the people of the country of rain dare to invade our Sand Crypsis? Hai Laozong sighed. It's most likely, because we're only defending against the Rock Crypsis invasion, without retaliating. The rest of the Jonins didn't have a good look on their faces. It's one thing to give in to Rock Crypsis, but who does Hidden Rain think they are? Raza frowned. Although he was not afraid of the Rain Country. What if this was a trap set by the Rock Crypsis? Why don't you just continue to be a grandson? Just as he was hesitating, a report came from outside. Kazakage-sama, Pakura-sama, and Special Envoy Garashi have returned. Raza, who had been worrying about not having an excuse to delay, suddenly laughed. Haha, let's go take a look. However, someone was faster than him. Seeing that Chio had disappeared from her seat, Raza couldn't help but sigh. I hope there won't be a fight. But at this moment, a loud shout came from the outside. Elder Chio, do you want to kill us to silence us? Seeing that the development of the situation seemed to be a bit wrong, Raza and the others hurriedly went out. Silence us? Chio was puzzled, but Sand and the others also stood up and angrily accused. Elder Chio, was that matter really instigated by you? Too despicable, so Elder Chio is this kind of person. They were already angry at Sasori for trying to assassinate the Kazakage, and now that they were saved by Shushi, they naturally stood on Shushi's side with righteous indignation. Of course, they wouldn't say the truth in public. Even so, Raza and the others were still confused when they came out. Half an hour later, in the conference room, all the Jonins looked like they had seen a ghost. The Kazakage was assassinated by Sasori? That bastard also made the previous Kazakage into a puppet. Impossible. He was only 15 years old 2 years ago. Are you kidding me? He can control hundreds of puppets at the same time? Raza rubbed his eyebrows, wondering if it was because he had worked too late yesterday and still hadn't woken up yet. Chio stood to the side in a daze. Human puppet? In the end, you still came to this step. Quiet down. Raza raised his right hand, and then looked at Zhongliang. Are you sure that Sasori assassinated the Kazakage? Zhongliang nodded heavily. Sasori said it himself. And he said it was to test his own strength. Raza said angrily. Just for this ridiculous reason, he assassinated the Kazakage? It's unforgivable. A Jonin couldn't help but ask, can Sasori really control hundreds of puppets at the same time? Sand said in a deep voice. Not only that, but he can control so many puppets at the same time without any blockage. Everyone took a breath of cold air. Why do they feel that no one in the entire Sand Crypsis can be Sasori's opponent? Raza was puzzled. Since he's so strong, how did you escape? Zhongliang said truthfully. Garashi defeated Sasori, and we escaped. Sandrock added. Shursui Shinobi defeated Sasori's puppet army by himself, And he even pinned the Kazekage-sama to the ground and beat him. As his voice fell, the conference room instantly exploded. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. I know. It must be a puppet transformed by Sasori. And it doesn't even have 10% of the strength of the Kazekage when he was alive. Rationally, they were unwilling to accept that the strongest Kazekage in history was defeated by a young wood-leaf ninja. Zhongliang sighed. It's true. The puppet Kazekage not only retained the Kazekage's magnet release Kekkei Genkai, but also modified many mechanisms and poisons. Its strength may be more terrible than the original Kazekage, Sandrock said. Pakura-sama fought against the puppet Kazekage after being severely injured by Garashi. In the end, she didn't even last a minute. This time no one said anything. They knew Pakura's strength. Although she was a hero of Sand Crypsis, she was definitely a strong jonin. But even so, she was defeated by the puppet Kazekage in less than a minute. This can only mean that the Garashi jonin is really strong. After a long while, someone said awkwardly, "Haha, the Kazekage-sama is really strong." Everyone looked at him sadly. No matter how strong he was, wasn't he easily beaten by the woodleaf ninja? They were both geniuses, but the woodleaf genius helped the village reverse the war, while the Sand Crypsis genius directly killed the village's Kage. What's even more depressing is that the Sand Crypsis genius still couldn't beat the opponent. Seeing that the Sand Crypsis confidence was about to be shattered, Raza quickly changed the topic. Let's put Sasori's matter aside. The most important thing now is how to make the Garashi jonin help us keep the secret. The genius of the village assassinated the village's Kage. If this kind of scandal spread, it would undoubtedly be a huge blow to the unity and self-confidence of the Sand Crypsis. It's easy to make Zhongliang keep the secret. As for Sasori, he wasn't the kind of person who was high-profile, and from his reaction this time, it seems that he didn't want the matter of the Kazekage to spread. Therefore, the only thing they had to consider was Shushi. But the problem is, how to stop Garashi's mouth. Assassination? A jonin just thought of this and trembled. With the strength of the Garashi jonin, it's possible that he could kill them all. Seduction? Raza just thought of this and shook his head. With the other party's popularity, it's more likely that he would use a beauty trap on the Sand Crypsis female ninja. This is difficult. Chapter 179. When Garashi was officially invited, it was already the next day. Haha, sorry to keep you waiting, Garashi-sama. Speaking of which, we were too shocked when we received the information yesterday. We really didn't expect the truth behind the disappearance of the third Kazekage to be like this. Raza said with a serious expression. In short, thank you very much for your contribution in this matter, Garashi-sama. The surrounding jonins also couldn't help but flatter him. Even the puppet third Kazekage wasn't Garashi-sama's opponent. It's really shocking. If it weren't for Special Envoy Garashi, Zhongliang and Pakura might not have been able to come back. I really envy Woodleaf for having a genius like Garashi-sama. Although Sasori is already a rare genius in Sand Crypsis, compared to Special Envoy Garashi-sama, he's too far behind. Garashi understood. No wonder they waited until today to officially invite him. Most likely, they had been practicing their lines yesterday. It's hard to say these words without embarrassment. Thinking of this, Garashi smiled. Kazekage-sama and Senpai are overpraising me. I just did what I could. What you could do. Everyone's expression was subtle. With your strength, it seems that there's nothing you can't do in the entire ninja world, right? Raza looked calm. Garashi-sama's humility really makes us ashamed. By the way, what was the final result of yesterday's battle? Garashi sighed. I had a chance to kill him, but he threatened me with Pakura's safety, and by the time I reacted, he had already escaped on the puppet third Kazekage. Using the third Kazekage's body as a mount, everyone was ashamed and angry, and looking at Garashi in front of them, they were even more depressed. They are all geniuses. Why is the difference so big? Raza took a deep breath and asked again. I heard from Zhongliang and the others that Mr. Garashi used an immortal technique of perception with a super large range yesterday. Can we trouble you to help us find Scorpion again? and kill him with the combined strength of all of us? Garashi frowned. Let's not talk about whether Scorpion will stay in the desert and wait for us to kill him. The most important question is, Kazekage-sama, have you thought about how to deal with him? Of course, I'll rely on my magnetic evasion, Raza said confidently. Although I don't know how he killed the Sandaime Kazekage, Magnet Release's ability to restrain puppets is absolutely not wrong. Even if the Sandaime Kazekage-sama is a puppet, he will be restrained by me. But what about his poison? Garashi asked. Although his poison is ineffective against me, it is quite fatal for most ninjas. If we push him too far, we will also suffer heavy losses. Of course, Raza was just saying it. How could he, a wise salty fish, do anything on impulse? Therefore, after frowning and thinking for a moment, Raza reluctantly changed the topic. Since there is no way to deal with Scorpion for the time being, I'll have to trouble Mr. Garashi to help us keep this secret. If the villagers know that the person who killed the Sandaime Kazekage is still alive, they will definitely fall into panic. Before I came, I just used this reason to explain to Mr. Naruto why your village is unwilling to send troops. Garashi helplessly spread out his hands. So Kazekage-sama, you seem to have said it too late. Raza's face was very ugly. Didn't I already say that our Sand Crypsis is too weak to fight back, because the front line is too long, and we have enough strength to protect ourselves? Garashi decisively threw the blame. But Naruto-sama didn't believe it, but with this reason Naruto-sama immediately believed it. Should I send a message to Naruto-sama now and ask him not to spread the news? Everyone's face was as uncomfortable as if they had eaten a fly. How could they not understand that Garashi deliberately did this, because he saw through their concerns? They were also depressed in their hearts. A casual joint task revealed a big scandal of their Sand Crypsis. If they didn't know that Garashi and Scorpion had no intersection, and this time they even destroyed so many puppets of the other side, they would have suspected that Garashi was targeting the Sandaime Kazekage from the beginning. Raza took a deep breath. Just say it. What do you want to keep the secret? Garashi smiled. In fact, we only have one request from the beginning. That is, we want Sand Crypsis to send troops. Raza narrowed his eyes. Is this a threat? Of course not. To be able to establish such a large foundation in such a difficult area, it can be seen that the ninjas of Sand Crypsis have a backbone made of iron, and they will never compromise because of some threats. Garashi flattered a little. After all, Sand Crypsis is the village of iron bones. Hearing Garashi's words, Raza's face became better. Then what do you mean? Anyway, we Sand Crypsis won't. Don't rush to refuse. Garashi smiled. Although Sand Crypsis ninjas grew up in such a difficult environment, no one should refuse better conditions, otherwise, Sand Crypsis wouldn't have waged war on with Leaf in the first two wars. Hearing Shueisha mention the last two great shinobi wars, everyone from the Sand Village had a gloomy look on their faces. Sand Crypsis was beaten in the first two wars, and the more they fought, the poorer they became. So this time they were hesitant. Since you have failed twice in a row, why don't you change to a better target? Garashi tempted. Although the land of the Earth Country is not as good as the land of our Fire Country, it should be much better than the land of the Wind Country, right? Hearing this, everyone was a little moved. In fact, they also considered this issue, but because of some concerns they gave up. Therefore, a Jonin asked, "Are you really willing to share the land with us?" Garashi smiled. Although it is a little rude to say this, we really don't care about the land of the Earth Country. To be able to make such a promise, naturally, he has already received permission from Sandaime-sama. Not only do they not care about it, but they also hope that Rock Crypsis and Sand Crypsis will fight because of this. Compared to hatred, the entanglement of interests is more realistic. Sand Crypsis had a complicated mood. The fertile land they coveted was something that others didn't care about at all. This feeling was like picking up with Leaf's garbage in the trash can. Of course, if they are asked whether they want it or not, they will definitely want it. Therefore, the Sand Crypsis also rejected the red packet with a shameless face. That's too embarrassing. No. Why don't we divide the territories we've conquered equally? As for the small country sandwiched between the Earth country and the Wind country, they chose to ignore it. The 5 big hooligans want to station troops. Do you dare to disagree? Raza was still a little hesitant. It's good to win the war. But what if we lose? The Sand Crypsis were moved by the shameless spirit of the Kazekage-sama. For the sake of the Sand Crypsis, the Kazekage-sama is really exhausted. Regarding this, I can only make a personal promise, Shushi said in a serious tone. Personal? Raza was shocked. Does Garashi also plan to work like him to subsidize the village? Speaking of which, as the inventor of the medical scroll, he seems to be very rich, and we have to pay him a large sum of money for the task this time. Sure enough, a top medical ninja like him can make money faster than robbing money. Thinking of this, Raza's eyes couldn't help but send out a signal. Garashi didn't know what Raza was thinking, but he said seriously, since the Chunin exam 2 years ago, I have been consciously deducing the would release Kekkei Genkai. Although I didn't succeed, I think I have seen hope. If I succeed in developing it, I will help the Sand Crypsis to green the desert. Hearing Garashi's strange idea, everyone was stunned. Using would release to green the desert, is this possible? But as soon as this idea popped up in their minds, they immediately denied it. It's not a question of whether it's possible, but a question of whether it's possible. Not to mention how rare the power of the first Naruto to pacify the warring states was. Even if theirs would release, it's useless without checking. Therefore, the Jonin just smiled perfunctorily. Only Raza smiled, thinking that he wouldn't lose out if he agreed. Then it's settled. Chapter 180. That night, Garashi calmly looked at the sapling in his hand, and in the next moment, he ignited a flame and burned it. Sure enough, even if it's me, my would release isn't much stronger than Mizuki's. With the experience of possessing Mizuki's body, he also understood the mystery of would release in the past 2 years. In this regard, Mizuki not only didn't have any resistance, but he was also very happy. In Garashi's view, Mizuki's loyalty to him is almost the same as Kimimaro in the original manga. Even if he wants to take Mizuki's body, he will most likely give it to him. Of course, he doesn't have the hobby of coveting other people's bodies like Orochimaru. Garashi pondered for a moment, and took out a scroll to summon Hashirama's cells to study. This strong vitality, is it because of yang release? Garashi was a little confused. The Kekkei Genkai formed by earth and water is would release, but after adding yang release, it still would release. Why isn't it a new form of Kekkei Genkai? Garashi's eyes narrowed slightly. Unless after adding yang release, the would release isn't a Kekkei Genkai, but an enhanced version of Kekkei Genkai between Kekkei Genkai and Kekkei Genkai. Yang release and yin release can be combined into a powerful yin-yang release. Maybe there is a transitional form of 5 elements release before Kekkei Genkai. And the root of Hashirama's would release is that his Kekkei Genkai skipped Kekkei Genkai and 5 elements release, and directly had the characteristics of Kekkei Genkai. From the level, it completely crushes other Kekkei Genkai, and it's even stronger than ordinary Kekkei Genkai. Thinking of this, Garashi's expression was dignified. If this is the case, Otsutsuki is at least 2 or 3 levels above the ninja world. No wonder they don't put others in their eyes at all. 5 elements in yin-yang? Do you want to practice one of them first, or consciously start from the beginning? At the same time, everyone gathered together during the day. Everyone looked at each other, and they were a little confused. Kazekage-sama, is there something we need to discuss now? Raza lowered his voice. It's about Wood Leaf's special envoy. Hearing this, everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Are they going to attack him at night? Hissed Kazekage-sama. You agreed so easily during the day, so it was to temporarily stabilize him. However, the other party's strength is extremely strong, and we still have the Flying Thunder God technique to escape. They had mixed feelings about Garashi. On one hand, they were grateful for his help, but on the other hand, they were angry at his threats. Although their attitude had changed so quickly during the day, it was only because they had been threatened that they would take advantage of the situation. After all, compared to being threatened to send troops, taking the initiative to agree would at least give them face. Old salted fish. Raza looked at them in shock. Shimizu Garashi, what were you guys thinking? Even if you want to die, don't drag me down with you. To prevent them from saying anything more shocking, Raza hurried to set the tone. Don't talk nonsense. Mr. Garashi is the benefactor of San Crypsis, and an eternal friend of San Crypsis. This time, everyone was even more at a loss. You called us in the middle of the night just for this? After coughing twice, Raza straightened his posture and said, the reason I called you here is because of a letter, an apology letter from Woodleaf's elder Danzo? Apology letter? Everyone was puzzled. Did he feel that he wasn't worthy of Elder Chio, so he sent a letter to apologize? Raza's mouth twitched. This elder Danzo mentioned that Special Envoy Garashi actually arrived a day earlier, but he cured Woodleaf's poison ninja and rested for a night before leaving for San Crypsis. For this he sincerely apologized. Didn't you say that this elder Danzo is very strong? A jonin asked strangely. Why is his tone so humble? Another jonin was puzzled. Isn't it normal to save your own people first? You think so because Garashi's operation didn't have an accident. Raza squinted his eyes and said, but if Garashi came late and caused our ninja to die, how would he feel when he sees this letter? A jonin frowned. Although it won't lead to a conflict, it will leave a thorn in his heart. Raza nodded. And this is also an excuse for us to deny a hem, to protest and refuse to pay. I understand. Zhongliang suddenly realized something. If we protest, Elder Danzo can use the excuse of affecting the diplomatic relations between the two villages to suppress Shueisha Jonin. Hearing this, all the Jonin's eyes lit up. Woodleaf doesn't seem to be peaceful either. Sandrock frowned and asked. I heard that Elder Danzo is very insidious. There's no reason for him to give us a handle, right? Normally this is just an ordinary apology letter. Even if I take it out, no one will say anything. At most, they will think that he's old and not as tough as he used to be. Raza said with dread. But the fact is that Elder Danzo saw through my stinginess. No, I mean my thrifty character, and guessed that I would use this letter. It's a pity that he underestimated Garashi. Not only did he complete the mission perfectly, but he also helped us discover the truth behind the third Kazekage. Everyone nodded in agreement. The medical skills of the three sons and moons really made them dumbfounded. Zhongliang asked, Kazekage-sama, what are you going to do next? Are you going to pretend that you didn't receive this letter? Raza laughed. How is that possible? Of course, I'm going to hint to Elder Danzo that we will officially protest afterwards. Zhongliang was surprised. Wait, Kazekage-sama, didn't you say that Garashi Jonin is San Crypsis' best friend forever? Raza said righteously. I'm helping Garashi Jonin see the true face of that old thief Danzo. Garashi Jonin didn't forget to care about his marriage in San Crypsis. What a good person. How can I bear to see my friend being schemed against like this? Ebizo coldly explained. Even if he's an ally, a powerful Woodleaf is still not in the interest of San Crypsis. Let Shimizu Garashi, who represents the young faction, and Shimura Danzo, who represents the stubborn faction, fight with each other. Then the position of San Crypsis will be more valuable. Everyone suddenly realized. But at the same time, they didn't forget to look at Raza with disdain. He still has the nerve to say that he's a good friend. Someone asked, Kazekage-sama, who do we support? It's not that whoever we support will win, but whoever can win, we will support. Raza sighed and directly put the two sides on the table. Shimizu Garashi and Shimura Danzo, ask yourselves, then tell me, who will you choose? Everyone thought for a moment, and quickly came to an answer. One is the sun at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and the other is the setting sun. No, even if it's the setting sun, it's still Sandame Naruto. Cricket Shimura Danzo is at most a small star, nothing more. Everyone reached a consensus and smiled at each other. Of course it's to sell Danzo. Chapter 181. Western Main Camp. An honest-looking ninja passed by the toilet and was attracted by a small note on a nearby tree. But before he could take a look, A ninja with a scar on his face jumped out. Hey, our Woodleaf is going to die. The honest-looking ninja was confused. Huh? The ninja put his arm around the ninja's shoulder. Brother, maybe you don't know yet. The backbone of our western camp, the wise Danzo-sama, has fallen ill. Of course, it's not surprising that you don't know. Danzo-sama specifically told the people around him not to talk about it, fearing that the morale of the army would be affected. But I accidentally discovered this secret, and I can't help but complain for Danzo-sama. Don't talk. Danzo-sama is devoted to the public. He doesn't get close to women. His body is strong. How could he suddenly fall ill? In fact, he was angered by that Shimizu Garashi. That kid relied on Naruto-sama's support and didn't put Danzo-sama in his eyes. Danzo-sama just reminded him to put the mission first, but that kid disregarded his seniority and insulted him. Danzo-sama was so angry that he vomited more than 10 kilograms of blood on the spot. More than 10 kilograms. Well, maybe I remembered wrong, but in short, it's a lot. Poor Danzo-sama worked so hard for the village, but now he's old and has to suffer like this. An enthusiastic ninja, who didn't want to reveal his name, passed by at this time. You think that's all? Humph. Danzo-sama has already reached an agreement with Sand Crypsis. Using this rescue operation as an excuse, Sand Crypsis officially sent troops to join the Rock Crypsis battlefield. Speaking of this, the ninja was filled with righteous indignation. But all of this was ruined by Shimizu Garashi. Such a person deserves to be called the Light of Woodleaf? The hero of Woodleaf. At this time, the ninja sighed helplessly. Wolf. So this is what you look like after taking off your mask. The two were dumbfounded. You are Leopard? The three laughed awkwardly, and then went to find other passers-by. No one knew when it started, but such a trend had started in Woodleaf's camp. Shimizu Garashi's impulsive actions had led to the failure of Danzo's meticulous plan. It could even affect the entire situation on the Western Front. Under the influence of some people, this trend did not stop. Instead, it seemed to be getting more and more intense. When Garashi and Sand Crypsis' special envoy Pakura came back, they saw many people pointing at them. I heard that Garashi didn't want to treat Danzo's hemorrhoids, which made Danzo so angry that he vomited 100 kilograms of blood. Why did I hear that the two of them fought over Naruto's favor? No, it was Danzo-sama who wanted to compete with Naruto-sama for Shimizu Garashi, and was rejected. Hearing this, Garashi's eyebrows twitched. Was Danzo really that desperate? When he was ruthless, he would even blacken himself. However, Garashi had some guesses in his heart. Maybe someone saw that Danzo wanted to deal with him, so they deliberately led the rumors in another direction. After all, rumors can't be stopped. Instead of forcibly blocking it, it's better to cover it up with more vicious rumors. Seeing the strange look in Pakura's eyes, Garashi coughed twice. Danzo's mental state has been unstable. On one hand, it's the rumored old pervert, and on the other hand, it's the handsome young man who saved her. Pakura naturally made a judgment in an instant and nodded. It's really hard for you, Garashi. Just then, a few nurses ran over in a hurry. It's really Garashi-sama, you're back. Great. Garashi-sama, please save No-sama. I heard that she was transferred to a spy mission. How can you let a medical ninja do this kind of mission? Garashi's face was cold. I know, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. At the same time, in the conference room, Danzo was sitting at the head of the table with a pale face, looking very weak. What do you think about the hidden rain's movements? His face was pale, half of it was fake, and the other half was because he was angry with his subordinates. How can it be that he and Shimizu Garashi are competing for Hiruzen's favor? Bah! It should be Hiruzen who's competing for his favor. Danzo suddenly stopped this dangerous thought and listened carefully to the discussion. I think this is Hanzo the Salamander's usual trick to raise the price. There's no need to worry too much. The battlefield is not a casino. How can we gamble everyone's safety on such uncertain factors? Are we just going to sit back and watch the hidden rain grow? It's better to join forces with Rock Crypsis to destroy the rain country first. Don't be stupid. Rock Crypsis will only turn around and sell us out. and then let the hidden rain completely fall into their arms. The rain country has always been indecisive. As long as they realize that we are strong, they won't hesitate to join us. So the key is still San Crypsis. Finally hearing what he wanted to hear, Danzo pretended to nod. Yes, I also think that the key to this war is San Crypsis's attitude. Akimichi Jonin was tangled. However, it's not easy to make San Crypsis give up their strategy. Aburame Jonin agreed. Yes, if anyone can make San Crypsis send troops, then he will be with Leaf's hero. At this time Danzo sighed. In fact, the Kazakage-sama is also in a difficult position. He's young and can't convince the conservatives in the village. For this reason, I had some private tacit understanding with him. Using this poisoning incident as a reward, I joined the battlefield. Speaking of this, Danzo's voice suddenly became louder. But all of this was ruined by one person. Thinking of the recent rumors in the camp, many Jonins were secretly alerted. It turned out that Danzo was waiting for them. They didn't want to talk, but naturally, some Jonin who supported Danzo spoke up. What? Who dares to do this? Danzo's eyes were gloomy. Who else can it be? Of course, it's with Leaf's hero who came from the other side. As soon as he came, he forcibly took Nanoya's position, ignoring this old man's advice, ignoring the overall situation of the battlefield. Just for his own reputation, he almost broke the alliance between Wood Leaf and San Crypsis, and also made the original plan to send troops directly invalid. This is unforgivable. There was dead silence in the conference room, and many Jonins frowned secretly. They don't think that Garashi's behavior is unforgivable. But if what Danzo said is true, then it is indeed a bit troublesome. The most important thing is that Garashi has only been on this battlefield for a short time, and his foundation is not strong enough, and they are afraid of Danzo's tyranny for a long time. On the conference table, Fugaka clenched and loosened his hands several times, and finally lowered his head sadly. I'm sorry. Just like before, they didn't speak, but naturally, others were willing to speak. Ugh, this kid is unreliable. It seems that he was praised too much on the other battlefield and lost himself. What's the use of saying this now? Let's think about how to fix it. Danzo knocked on the table. To fix the relationship, the first thing is to let Shimizu Garashi apologize to San Crypsis. Let this old man think of a way. He didn't want to use San Crypsis to kill Garashi. If he did that, Hiruzen would definitely come to kill him. He just wants to confirm the rumors that Garashi harmed the interests of the village in front of everyone, so that he can find an excuse to threaten him in the future. For the sake of Konoha, some sacrifices are inevitable. I don't think our hero should care about personal honor and disgrace. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.